Chapter 971. That ferocious bird directly transformed into nothingness. However, its strength was truly terrifying, as though it originated from the ancient times. Its strength was so overwhelming that it could easily tear apart peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendants. Its baleful aura towered up into the sky, wanting to kill everything. Its fleshly body was also incomparably terrifying, but right now, it was actually torn apart by Qin Wentian. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying Qin Wentian's current strength was. Right now, both of Qin Wentian's palms were like the sharp claws of a wind rock. Demonic qi towered up into the sky, and a faint hint of platinum could be seen, capable of destroying everything. Countless terrifying runic inscriptions circulated around them, granting Qin Wentian an incomparably terrifying strength. Right now, ordinary peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendants could be crushed into pieces with a single palm strike. Even for 9th-level ascendants, they wouldn't be able to withstand the tearing force of his attack. A bright light flashed in front of him as another astral gate appeared. The ancient pathway in the void continued upwards, ascending into the air, paying homage to the divine relic. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with incomparable sharpness. He had no hesitation and stepped out. Since he was able to see the antiquity city, how could he not check it out? If his strength wasn't sufficient and he was defeated, he would have no regrets. But if he didn't even have the courage to do so, how could he even talk about pursuing the supreme path of cultivation? Following the ancient pathway, Qin Wentian stepped into the vortex-like astral gate. It was as though Qin Wentian had stepped into the void, appearing in another stretch of nothingness. Above the boundless void, another ancient baleful god appeared. This was an ancient ape that radiated a towering baleful killing intent. It wielded a gigantic cudgel that could sweep through the heavens and earth. This baleful god lifted its gigantic cudgel and directly smashed it towards Qin Wentian. In an instant, the entire space trembled. This cudgel was so powerful that it could even shatter immortals, let alone celestial phenomenon ascendants. That overwhelming might cause Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. This baleful god was even more tyrannical compared to the ferocious bird earlier. Even in the city of ancient emperors, there weren't many who could withstand such an attack. Rumbling sounds echoed out. Qin Wentian's body expanded to 100 meters, the same size as the baleful god. His palms blotted out the sky as the boundless astral energy in his body transformed into the divine energy of the ancient mountains. His palms blasted out explosively as numerous ancient mountains appeared in the air. A world-shaking explosion rang out as a destructive might engulfed this entire world. The rumbling sound seemed never-ending as the ancient mountains exploded unceasingly. Behind Qin Wentian, his constellation of suppression appeared. Streams of light cascaded downwards unceasingly. It was as though he was carrying the body of a divinity on his back. Numerous ancient silhouettes descended from the sky, aiming to suppress the baleful god. That baleful god howled in rage and lifted its cudgel, smashing it towards the sky. The golden silhouettes continued to descend, wanting to suppress and bury this entire world. Although the explosions continued unceasingly, it didn't stop. At the same time, Qin Wentian stretched out a heaven-shaking gigantic palm imprint. With a single strike, he blasted out with enough power to destroy the sun, moon and stars, flattening all existences. Roar! The fiend god ape let out an earth-shattering roar, shattering everything. The giant palm imprint rumbled, and when it landed, it only injured its opponent. However, Qin Wentian's expression didn't change in the slightest. A pair of wind rock wings appeared behind him, and he looked like a peerless wind rock. He took a step forward, turning into an afterimage. Then, rumbling sounds could be heard as the fiend god ape's body was destroyed by Qin Wentian, and it disappeared into nothingness. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed like lightning as he took a step forward. He was very curious to see how many trials there were on the ancient void path, and who could possibly block his path. Qin Wentian attacked again and again, encountering all sorts of terrifying primordial ferocious beasts that grew stronger and stronger. Towards the end, he had to unleash ancient Emperor Yi's ultimate art, God's Hand, before he could kill them. After 8 consecutive trials, Qin Wentian killed primordial ferocious beasts. For the 9th trial, he once again came to the battlefield in the void, waiting for the arrival of the primordial ferocious beasts. Such a trial caused Qin Wentian to sigh in his heart. Most probably, there weren't many geniuses in the entire immortal realms who could pass this trial. If immortal emperors stepped on the ancient pathway, would the primordial ferocious beasts that appeared be at the immortal emperor level as well? How terrifying would that be? At this moment, terrifying runic lights flashed in the air above the world of void. Streams of incomparably baleful aura gushed downwards as terrifying runic inscriptions slammed down with the speed of lightning. A fearsome might of annihilation gushed over, causing Qin Wentian to feel a sense of danger. 9 was the extreme number. Would this 9th trial be the ultimate trial of the ancient pathway? If so, how terrifying would this trial be? That ferocious might cascaded downwards, causing Qin Wentian's expression to turn incomparably solemn. Energy gushed forth from his body as God's hand appeared. A thunderous roar rang out from his body as he transformed into a desolate primordial beast, exuding a fearsome aura, terrifying to the extreme. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the sky. Over there, even the sky seemed to have turned red, as though a heavenly tribulation was about to descend. Destructive lightning bolts unceasingly rained down as a diagram appeared. At the end of the world of void, a supreme greater demon from the supreme ancient immortal realms was about to descend here. That diagram gradually grew clearer as beams of dazzling light cascaded downwards. An even more terrifying and threatening aura enveloped Qin Wentian. After which, Qin Wentian saw a dazzling golden light as a supreme greater demon appeared before him. It was like a bolt of golden lightning, instantly appearing in front of Qin Wentian. With a single strike, Qin Wentian couldn't even see it clearly. Too fast to the extreme. Qin Wentian could only rely on his instincts to blast out God's hand. A terrifying sound of collision rang out as Qin Wentian's body was directly flung through the air. With a groan of misery, he felt that God's hand was about to shatter. Such power caused him to be extremely shocked. However, this wasn't the end. With a flash of light, that supreme baleful might bore down on him again. So fast that Qin Wentian couldn't even react in time. Qin Wentian roared as boundless energy gushed forth. God's hand shook the heavens and earth, glowing with a platinum light as it blasted out a heaven-shaking might. An earth-shaking explosion rang out as Qin Wentian was forced back once again. However, this time around, that supreme greater demon also retreated and floated in the air. Qin Wentian could finally get a clear look at this greater demon. Its entire body was incomparably dazzling, and seemed to be the purest form of gold. It was a natural color, and there were no decorations on it at all. Its wings shone with a golden light, and each of its feathers was sharper than swords and sabers, capable of slicing through everything. When the wings of the greater demon flapped, it was as though the sharpest swords were moving about. Its claws were also made from pure gold. From its entire body, only its eyes were black in color, causing the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. Golden-winged great rock. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. Golden-winged great rock was one of the strongest types of rocks. Qin Wentian had cultivated the wind rock art before, but ultimately, that was merely an innate technique derived from the body of a great rock. But even so, each and every type of rock art was extremely terrifying. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful a true divine rock was. The golden-winged great rock before his eyes was a true greater demon, possessing the purest bloodline and innate divine might. It also possessed the purest and most primitive golden-winged great rock divine art, an innate technique that belonged to its race. All other types of energy were derived from it. Qin Wentian's constellation shone with a dazzling light as it frenziedly slammed down. However, the golden-winged great rock flapped its wings as a beam of golden light erupted forth, directly breaking apart the attack. Its baleful eyes had no fluctuations in them at all. These attacks that could easily kill ordinary 9th-level ascendants couldn't even touch it. The cold eyes of the golden-winged great rock gleamed with a supreme sharpness. Its body blasted out once again. Qin Wentian unleashed the wind rock art, but he simply couldn't match up to its opponent's speed. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out as the wings of the golden-winged great rock slashed towards Qin Wentian. That terrifying golden light seemed to be able to cleave the void into two. Qin Wentian retreated explosively, but at the same time, He frenziedly blasted out with God's hand, blocking the attack of the golden-winged great rock. However, the golden-winged great rock transformed into a whirlpool of wind. It directly spun in the air, its wings frenziedly slicing apart the void, leaving behind numerous golden shadows that resembled spirals of wind. The terrifying golden light engulfed the entire space. Qin Wentian frantically retreated, staring at the spiral-like wings of the golden-winged great rock. His countenance grew incredibly unsightly to behold. Such attacks were unceasing. Unless he could shatter the wings of the golden-winged great rock, it was clearly impossible for him to do so. Qin Wentian's sword qi towered up into the sky. God's hand blasted out tens of thousands of meter-long sword beams, piercing towards the sharp wings of the golden-winged great rock. However, the sharp swords were all broken inch by the vortex. God's hand could only continue slashing downwards. The piercing sounds were extremely ear-piercing. Qin Wentian's God's hand was on the verge of breaking apart. Borrowing the force of the collision, he retreated explosively. If he was struck by that attack, no matter how strong his body was, he would still be shredded into pieces. It was impossible for him to defeat his opponent by competing in terms of sharpness, and he was not as fast as his opponent. He could only use his greatest strength to break this kind of attack. Qin Wentian's bloodline power surged. His God's hand transformed into a long spear as the power of his bloodline circulated around it. The divine energy in his body frenziedly erupted forth. Such might was sufficient to cause all the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors to prostrate before him. The spiral-shaped attack of the golden-winged great rock was so dazzling and beautiful, yet it contained a supreme killing might within. Boom! Qin Wentian's body radiated a fearsome might that originated from the supreme ancient immortal realms. Demonic qi engulfed the entire sky, and at the same time, a white light flashed with the strongest destructive might, circulating around the tip of his spear. Die! With a thunderous roar, Qin Wentian's long spear pierced towards the spinning golden-winged great rock. The power of his God's hand erupted forth in a single strike. The long spear pierced through the wings of the great rock, but this time around, it actually didn't shatter. Terrifying hissing sounds rang out as a surge of divine might permeated the air. The long spear pierced through the rock's wings, causing the spinning great rock to abruptly halt. A spear filled with a supreme sharpness pierced through the rock's wings and into its body. Qin Wentian's God's hand dissipated. This strongest strike exhausted all the energy of his God's hand. That long spear shone with the strongest destructive runic light. The cold eyes of the golden-winged great rock stared at Qin Wentian, as a look of astonishment flashed through its eyes. Its mouth opened slightly, and after that, two words actually flowed out from its mouth. God's blood. As the sound of its voice faded, the long spear shattered. The body of the golden-winged great rock also transformed into nothingness, vanishing from sight. Chapter 972. God's Blood. Qin Wentian frowned as his eyes gleamed with sharpness. The God's hand and the long spear vanished together. He felt some bewilderment in his heart. What did the golden-winged rock mean when it vanished? He stared at his palms. There was a dazzling runic light circulating around them. The power of the two bloodlines intertwined as runic inscriptions shimmered. This golden-winged rock is truly terrifying. Most probably he still has many innate abilities that he hasn't unleashed yet. I need to use my strongest attack before I can penetrate his body and kill him. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. If this attack couldn't penetrate his opponent's body, he wouldn't have any other attacks that would be able to break through his defenses. Given his current strength, Qin Wentian was confident that he had truly reached the pinnacle below immortality. Below the immortal foundation realm, there were only a few who could be his match. For ordinary peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendants, they would be able to use their constellations to suppress and destroy everything. However, the golden-winged rock gave him a terrifying sense of pressure that could truly threaten him. At this moment in the air, an ancient pathway appeared. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed. The test should be over, right? If this still wasn't the strongest test, he would truly be helpless. Stepping out, Qin Wentian moved towards the ancient pathway. Instantly, Qin Wentian felt as though he was shuttling through the void. The next moment when he stepped out, he arrived at the other end of the pathway. At the other end of the ancient pathway, there was a sacred palace located beneath the boundless starry skies. Astral light cascaded down from the heavens, radiating an ancient and solemn aura. Qin Wentian turned his gaze ahead. There was a silhouette standing there, towering above the heavens, exuding a lofty aura akin to a true divinity. Other than this, there was nothing else. Is this really a divine miracle? Qin Wentian stared at the statue. After so many trials and tribulations, he came here just to take a look at this statue? Qin Wentian shifted his gaze and looked at the side of the statue. There was a scepter in his hand. This scepter also stood between the heavens and the earth, as if it symbolized supreme power and had incomparable majesty. Qin Wentian stepped forward and reached out his hand. A dazzling light shone in his eyes. Qin Wentian directly grabbed the scepter. At this instant, boundless runic light surged crazily on the surface of the scepter. Suddenly, a lot of information appeared in Qin Wentian's mind. His eyes seemed to be able to see the entire Antiquities city, penetrating through the ancient starry sky path. In his mind, he was currently in a god's residence. The Antiquities city was located below this god's residence. Only those who had heard of the ancient starry sky path could reach this god's residence. The statue of the god as well as the scepter symbolized supreme authority. It overlooked everything in the ancient city, as if it was in control of it. Qin Wentian could even see the situation outside the Antiquities city. The disciples of the Dong Shengshan Gate were pacing back and forth. They were blocked outside the ancient battle sky path, and didn't even have the qualifications to pass the first test. A strange feeling appeared in Qin Wentian's heart. With the scepter in his hand, he could even seal the Antiquities city. There are 3 passageways and 3 entrances. At this moment, Qin Wentian's perception spread out once more. He could see even more scenes. This Antiquities city didn't only have the entrance he came from. There were 2 other passageways that seemed to be connected to 2 other spaces in the City of Ancient Emperors. That place might be the 2nd and 3rd level of the City of Ancient Emperors. Not good, Qingxian is in danger. At this moment, Qin Wentian saw Zi Qingxian, who was undergoing the test on the ancient starry sky path. She was in imminent danger, and was heavily injured by a greater demon. Get out! An intense will gushed forth from Qin Wentian. Zi Qingxian, who was in the midst of battle, suddenly felt a supreme will descend upon her. Her body instantly retreated, retreating towards the ancient starry sky path. In the next instant, she appeared outside the ancient starry sky path once again. Her heart pounded wildly as she stared up at the sky. That will earlier was like the will of a divinity. There was no way for her to resist it. Was that a divine decree? However, this divine decree had saved her. Qin Wentian glanced at the other participants who were fighting on the ancient starry sky path. He exerted force in his palm, wanting to take the scepter away. However, a terrifying runic light flashed in the air as rumbling sounds rang out. The shadow of a black dragon appeared there, staring at him with its gigantic head. Qin Wentian opened his eyes and stared at the black dragon. You are still too weak. You still can't take this scepter away. The black dragon spoke, his words causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. This was none other than the black dragon from the sea. However, it seemed that this black dragon was merely an incarnation of a will. Since I came here through the ancient starry sky path, why can't I take the scepter away? Qin Wentian asked. You have already established a connection with the scepter. In the future, if you have the chance, you can come here anytime. Come again when your cultivation base reaches a certain level. I will help you to close the seal. The black dragon spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. Even ancient emperors came here for the sake of obtaining the scepter. But from the tone of the black dragon, it seemed that he would be able to inherit the scepter. Little fellow, your luck is extremely good. In the long river of time, many world-shaking geniuses have come here, but precisely because of their formidable strength, their opponents on the ancient starry sky path were even more terrifying. Even so, there were still many supreme geniuses who were defeated after reaching the 9th path. Your talent is outstanding, and you have also obtained the baptism of sacred luminance. You cultivated the ultimate techniques of your ancestors, and relied on your tyrannical bloodline to reach this point. Your cultivation base is low, but it is actually an advantage. But at the same time, your cultivation base doesn't allow you to control this scepter. After that, he added, I will come again in the future. If I leave like this, wouldn't it be a waste of my efforts to pass the ancient starry sky path? Senior should at least leave something behind for me, like an ancient treasure. Qin Wentian looked at the black dragon and smiled. As for that sacred luminance, I wish to bring it out. Senior should have a way to do so, right? You are truly greedy, the black dragon said. Look at the left hand of the divine statue. That treasured cauldron, if you can bring it away, then take it. That treasured cauldron is the ancient treasure you want. Even the sacred luminance you requested can be stored in that cauldron. A fiery light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. Ancient treasured cauldron. He glanced at the divine statue's left hand. That incomparably gigantic palm was indeed holding onto a square-shaped cauldron. Ancient runes were inscribed on it, exuding a mysterious aura. Qin Wentian couldn't understand them at all. Qin Wentian stretched his hand out, wanting to lift it up. However, he discovered that the cauldron wouldn't budge at all. Finally, it weighed millions of jin. How heavy! Qin Wentian's countenance froze. His body expanded in size as he hugged the cauldron with both hands. His entire body shimmered with a resplendent light, and with a loud roar, both his hands were infused with immense strength. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out as the cauldron seemed to shift slightly. Boundless runic light abruptly shone resplendently as a terrifying whirlpool of energy gushed forth from the cauldron. The incomparably intense suction force had no way to resist. Qin Wentian's gigantic body directly transformed into a beam of light as he was sucked into the cauldron. Qin Wentian appeared within the cauldron. His body was incomparably gigantic, yet he was still within the cauldron. This cauldron was filled with ancient runes that seemed to contain an ancient and mysterious power. The interior of the cauldron shone with brilliant light as a towering might gushed forth, enveloping Qin Wentian's body. At this instant, Qin Wentian felt as though his body was about to be refined by the cauldron. His countenance instantly turned pale. You tricked me. Qin Wentian soared up into the air. However, boundless runic light circulated around his body, causing him to be unable to move at all. He had no way to break free from the cauldron. This is an ancient cauldron, it's beneficial to you. Feel it well. The voice of the black dragon drifted over. Qin Wentian felt as though his body was about to be torn apart. The ancient runic inscriptions transformed into a fearsome might that blasted into his body. In an instant, he felt as though he was enduring the might of countless types of innate techniques. His body felt as though it was about to be torn apart as his gigantic frame gradually turned illusory. Roar! Qin Wentian unleashed his bloodline power as he let out a thunderous roar. That white runic light circulated around his body, rapidly repairing his damaged physique. His body was constantly being destroyed and repaired. Such pain caused even Qin Wentian's will to collapse. He felt that he wouldn't be able to endure it any longer, and would explode to death. No, Qin Wentian howled madly, gritting his teeth as he endured. He had already arrived before the divine statue. How could he be destroyed by a cauldron? This cauldron wasn't able to destroy his will. Streaks of light rushed into Qin Wentian's body, seeping into his bones and meridians. However, such pain caused Qin Wentian to faint several times. Such pain persisted for an entire hour, but to Qin Wentian, it felt as long as half a century. When everything stopped, Qin Wentian's entire body was drenched in sweat. However, his skin seemed to be even more crystalline and translucent than before. Within his bones, there seemed to be a surge of violent energy akin to that of a primordial beast. His gaze turned to the cauldron, and when he looked at the runic inscriptions again, they seemed to have become much clearer. These runic inscriptions transformed into diagrams that floated before his eyes, resembling ancient offensive treasured arts that contain supreme might. There's an innate technique within the cauldron. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. At this moment, he felt a connection formed between him and the cauldron. However, a bitter smile appeared on his face. He didn't feel the slightest bit complacent. He still didn't know who was the one who refined who. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he exited the cauldron. He ruthlessly glared at Black Dragon. This fellow tricked him. However, Black Dragon's expression was still the same as before. He emotionlessly spoke, "Your friend and the other fellow have already been sent out by me. I've also sealed the entrance. Do you want to go out now? I'll store the sacred luminance first." Qin Wentian spoke. After that, his palms trembled as the cauldron revolved, becoming much smaller as it flew into his palm. He held the scepter in his hand and with a flash of light, his silhouette vanished as he reappeared before the sacred luminance. Qin Wentian stared at the sacred luminance cascading down from the sky as his hatred for Black Dragon vanished. This was an ancient sacred light. Once he placed it in the cauldron, even immortal kings and emperors would beg him to use it. Naturally, Qin Wentian also understood in his heart that if he really brought the sacred luminance out, he absolutely couldn't reveal it or he would die a miserable death. With a wave of his hand, the cauldron expanded in size and flew towards the sacred luminance. In an instant, boundless sacred luminance flowed into the cauldron, transforming into streaks of light that fused into the cauldron. Chapter 973. Sacred Luminance. Qin Wentian's eyes blazed with heat. His heart was connected to the cauldron, and he could already sense the sacred luminance appearing within, fusing into the runes of the cauldron. Within the interior of the cauldron, the sacred luminance shone brilliantly, truly becoming one with the cauldron. Qin Wentian finally understood why ancient treasures were needed to store the sacred luminance. The sacred luminance was a type of primordial holy light that had no shape or form. For ordinary treasures, the sacred luminance would vanish the moment it entered the cauldron. Only true treasures could allow the sacred luminance to fuse with the treasures, allowing the sacred luminance to be born within. In this case, from now on, Qin Wentian would be able to use the sacred luminance to cleanse the body of others, allowing them to ascend to a higher level. Naturally, the prerequisite was that the will of that person had to be strong enough. If not, they would be directly destroyed by the sacred luminance. Nam Huangyunxi said that the sacred luminance was something that even immortal kings and emperors yearned for in their dreams. Although he didn't dare to announce that he had the sacred luminance now, in the future when he had a certain level of strength, he would be able to use it to summon immortal kings and emperors and nurture demon-level geniuses. The sacred luminance unceasingly flowed into the cauldron. Qin Wentian was afraid that it wouldn't be enough and didn't stop. After a long time, the voice of the Black Dragon drifted over. "You brat, that's enough. This cauldron is a saint artifact, and the sacred luminance is already stored within. This means that the space within the cauldron already contains the sacred luminance." Qin Wentian smiled awkwardly. After that, with a wave of his hand, runes illuminated the skies as the cauldron closed. With a wave of his hand, the cauldron shrunk in size and flew into his palm. Qin Wentian directly kept it. This ancient saint artifact contained a supreme innate ability. He would definitely cultivate it well after he exited this place. This escape could be said to be a blessing in disguise. They managed to barge into the antiquity city and learned of some of its secrets, obtaining the sacred luminance. This was truly a great opportunity, and it seemed like they still had to thank the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. If it wasn't for the Dongxing Heaven Emperor ordering the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate to kill their way into the city of ancient emperors, they wouldn't have such an opportunity. Go. A mysterious energy enveloped Qin Wentian's body as he was sent out of the antiquities city. When he reappeared, Qin Wentian was already at the entrance. Qing Nam Huangyunxi and the rest were all there. When they saw Qin Wentian coming out, a strange expression appeared on their faces as they looked at Qin Wentian with a strange expression. "What's wrong?" Qin Wentian shrugged as he looked at everyone's curious eyes. "We were all sent out together." Nam Huangyunxi looks at Qin Wentian with a smile. This cold and arrogant princess of the Nam Huang clan seems to smile occasionally in front of them, which is even more charming. There's also Wuxia. However, that fellow joined forces with those from the Dongshengshan Gate and used an immortal-ranked weapon to escape. If not, we would have left him here, Jun Mingchen added. "Senior brother Qin, you were the last to come out. Did you have some good fortune again?" "I passed through the ancient pathway in the starry space and saw a divine statue. After that, The guardian greater demon said that my cultivation base was too low and chased me out, telling me to come back again in the future. Qin Wentian spoke in a depressed tone. He didn't explain the other matters clearly, including the matter regarding the sacred luminance. It wasn't that his relationship with these people wasn't good. It was just that there were too many people here. Who could guarantee that they wouldn't leak this information out? Namhuang Yunxi was the princess of the Namhuang clan. Could Qin Wentian guarantee that she wouldn't leak this secret to the Namhuang clan? He didn't think that he had that kind of charm. Hua Taishu also had his own sect. The myriad incarnations immortal king accepted him as a disciple. It was only normal for him to leak this information to the myriad incarnations immortal king. And once the matter regarding the sacred luminance was leaked out, only death would await him, Qin Wentian. The immortal emperors and emperors of the immortal realms would hunt him down. There was no way for him to survive in the vast immortal realms. Hence, it was best that only he knew about this matter. After all, everyone here had already bathed in the sacred luminance and obtained a transformation. There's really a miracle. Namfeng Yunxi stared at the antiquity city ahead as she spoke. After you passed through the ancient pathway, we were blasted out and the antiquity city was sealed. Seems like from now on, only you can enter the antiquity city. To you, this is an extremely great opportunity. Maybe, but that's a matter for the future. Qin Wentian spoke. Let's go, let's return to the city of ancient emperors. Everyone nodded. Qing took out a void leaf as all the experts stepped onto it and returned to the passageway. This time around, the instant they stepped into the passageway, they directly appeared at the other end of the passageway. Turning their heads back, they stared at the antiquity city in the air as their silhouettes grew further and further away. On the way back, Qin Wentian suddenly saw a group of people heading back. These people were none other than the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate, who returned empty-handed. When they saw Qin Wentian and the others, their eyes flashed with coldness as they all took out their immortal-ranked weapons, their auras towering up into the sky. Should we do it or not? Jun Mingchen's eyes flashed with coldness. There's no need to bother with them. Qinger, let's continue on our way. Qin Wentian spoke. Although all of them had undergone a transformation, the 300-plus experts of the Dongshengshan Gate all took out their immortal-ranked weapons. Even if they relied on the number of immortal-ranked weapons, their opponents would still be able to suppress them. This wasn't something that could be changed by strength. Qinger nodded. The void leaf continued flying through the air, passing by the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate. The eyes of the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate gleamed with sharpness as they stared at Qin Wentian and the others. After we return, we will reform the Qin sect and recruit more disciples. In that case, regardless of whether we use immortal-ranked weapons or not, we won't be in a disadvantageous position. Qin Wentian spoke. Jun Mingchen nodded. No matter what, their strength had already undergone a transformation. Although the people of the Dongshengshan Gate were many, with over 300 experts, they were still lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Let them be complacent for a period of time. Jun Mingchen spoke in a cold voice. During the period of time when Qin Wentian and the others were in the antiquity city, something major happened in the underworld mountains. Zi Daoyang was recuperating in the underworld mountains when he coincidentally met Zhan Peng, who had just finished his cultivation and was walking out of his cave. Although Zhan Peng had managed to obtain one of the inheritances of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor thanks to some luck, the cruel ending told the people of the city of ancient emperors that the truly powerful inheritances could only be obtained by a select few of the strongest geniuses. Even if the others managed to obtain the inheritance, they were destined to benefit others. Zhan Peng, who was ranked in the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings, died in Zi Daoyang's hands. Zi Daoyang's inheritance was absorbed by Zi Daoyang, causing him to grow even stronger. After Zi Daoyang devoured Zhan Peng's inheritance, he headed into the depths of the underworld mountains. Eventually, he also saw the antiquity city, but at that time, it had already closed. Qin Wentian and the others had already left. Zi Daoyang stared at the city and could only reluctantly leave. When Qin Wentian and the others returned to the Qin sect, the vast place seemed somewhat deserted. Only a few people were still in the Qin sect, while the others had already left. Several silhouettes soared up into the air, and upon seeing Qin Wentian and the others returning, a smile appeared on their faces. You guys still know how to return. Liu crossed his arms in front of his chest, staring at the silhouettes before him. Their demeanor seemed to have changed again, and this caused Liu's eyes to gleam with sharpness. The Qin sect was founded by us. We will naturally return. Qin Wentian laughed. Don't blame the disciples of the Qin sect. You guys are being hunted by the Dongshengshan Gate, and the Evil Palace and Violet sect are like tigers eyeing their prey. Xiaoling Yue threatened the Qin sect to scram so. Su Rushua spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian waved his hands. No, I will leave as well. At the end of the day, the Qin sect was merely a temporary power that they had established in the city of ancient emperors. They had formed an alliance to contend for supremacy in the city of ancient emperors. But now that their leaders were being hunted, it was unrealistic to expect the others to hold on. Summon the members of the Qin sect back. In addition, I plan to recruit more disciples and prepare for the final battle in the city of ancient emperors. Those who are willing can join my Qin sect. What do you all think? Qin Wentian spoke to Liu and Su Rushua. Are you preparing for the final battle? Liu had a strange expression on his face. Yes, I'm going to notify the city of ancient emperors that I, Qin Wentian, will challenge the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang, and the second ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Mo Xia. Qin Wentian spoke, his words causing the eyes of Su Rushua and Liu to flicker with a dazzling light. Qin Wentian wanted to challenge Zi Daoyang and Mo Xia? Sure, I will handle this matter for you, Liu replied. Me too. Su Rushua's countenance sharpened. Were they going to witness history? I'll be troubling you then. Qin Wentian nodded to them. After which, the group of them entered the Qin sect. Very swiftly, a shocking piece of news circulated around the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wentian had once again summoned the members of the Qin sect, and was going to continue with the recruitment. Qin Wentian had issued a challenge to Zi Daoyang and Mo Xia. After he dealt with the Dongshengshan Gate, he would officially challenge the top rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings and the second rankers. As this news circulated, the entire city of ancient emperors was in an uproar. Was this going to be a battle at the pinnacle? It seemed like Qin Wentian had already stepped into the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. There were rumors in the underworld mountains that the Qin sect had been ambushed by the 3 transcendent powers, but Qin Wentian and the others had returned safely. Qin Wentian had once said that if he broke through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, he would fight Zi Daoyang alone. Now he wanted to fulfill his promise and challenge Zi Daoyang and Mo Xia. The geniuses of the Qin sect all returned, and there were even more geniuses who joined the Qin sect. They couldn't stand the sight of the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate, and they even declared that they would annihilate these clowns. They even sent an army to kill Qin Wentian. This was undoubtedly using the strength of a transcendent power to interfere in the affairs of the city of ancient emperors. Back then, the disciple of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor had been extremely arrogant and humiliated the Qin sect. Yet when he encountered Qin Wentian, he couldn't even withstand a single strike and was killed. If the Dongxing Heaven Emperor had the ability to send an even stronger disciple to kill Qin Wentian, he would have simply mobilized the 300-strong army from the Dongshengshan Gate to form a battle formation. The Dongshengshan Gate was the first sect to use its power to interfere in the affairs of geniuses in the city of ancient emperors, and this caused many people to feel disdain. They joined the Qin sect and prepared to destroy the Dongshengshan Gate. At the same time, they wanted to witness Qin Wentian's battle against Zi Daoyang and Mo Xia. This was a battle between men in the city of ancient emperors. Chapter 974. In the city of ancient emperors, even if they weren't descendants of the same bloodline, they were still disciples of the city of ancient emperors. All of them were arrogant and untamed, exuding arrogance that towered up to the clouds. They couldn't bear the actions of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. Back then, if the Dongxing Heaven Emperor had sent more powerful geniuses over to kill Qin Wentian, that was because of his own capabilities. Sending an army over would only result in him being criticized by others. At the same time, Qin Wentian challenged Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie, the first and second rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings. This caused the hearts of the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors to be filled with such spirit. Comparing the two, Qin Wentian's boldness was even more evident, causing the people of the Dong Shengshan Gate to feel extremely unsightly. Hence, a tempest arose in the city of ancient emperors. The number of geniuses who joined the Qin sect was as many as the clouds. In a short few days, many geniuses of the Qin sect wanted to witness this historic moment in the city of ancient emperors, to see Qin Wentian fight against Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie. At this moment, the Qin sect was no longer as quiet as it was a few days ago. It was now extremely lively as experts from all directions gathered here, all of them wanting to join the Qin sect. Qin Wentian also changed his previous policy and accepted everyone who came. Before this, he thought that those who joined the Qin sect would all be like brothers to him. But in reality, he wouldn't be staying in the city of ancient emperors for too long. This was a temporary alliance, and it was impossible for them to truly be like brothers to each other. He might as well go with the flow and do what he needed to do. Namfeng, did Qin Wentian break through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon? I remember when he entered the city of ancient emperors, he was still at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon. In such a short period of time, he actually broke through 2 levels and entered the 9th level. Did you guys have any miraculous encounters? Many experts of the Qin sect gathered together, and one of them asked Namhuang Yunxi, who was sitting in the center. Yes, we did have some miraculous encounters. Namhuang Yunxi nodded, honestly admitting. Oh, what fortuitous encounter? Someone asked. In this city of ancient emperors, in the depths of the underworld mountains, there's an antiquity city that contains many secrets. When we explored it, we encountered some good fortune and obtained many benefits. Qin Wentian successfully broke through to the next level. Namhuang Yunxi said bluntly, sooner or later, this city couldn't be hidden anymore. If she kept it a secret, others would suspect her in the future. It was better to say it frankly. Is this true? As expected, the eyes of some experts gleamed with sharpness as they turned their gazes onto Namfeng Yunxi. Naturally, why would I lie to you guys? You guys can go ahead and search for it. You will definitely be able to find it. It's just that sadly, because this antiquity city has a very high requirement for one's cultivation base, it said that our cultivation bases are too low and eventually chased us out. If not, we might even have a chance to establish our immortal foundation in there. Namhuang Yunxi calmly spoke. And now this antiquity city has already been closed. Really? Many people had looks of disappointment on their faces. The antiquity city was actually closed? Didn't that mean that they no longer had a chance? Namfeng didn't lie to you guys. Everything she said is the truth. At this moment, Qin Wentian appeared and sat together with Namhuang Yunxi. Brother Qin. Everyone clasped their hands to Qin Wentian, being extremely polite. Sect leader Qin. There were also experts who called out. After all, Qin Wentian was the sect leader of the Qin sect. Brothers, you are all too polite. Those who come to my Qin sect are all my brothers. Qin Wentian thanks everyone for your help. Qin Wentian stood there and clasped his hands to everyone, exuding a magnanimous air. To deal with a power like the Dong Shengshan Gate that uses numbers to bully the weak, we should make them wake up. This place is the city of ancient emperors. That's right. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor actually sent an army to the city of ancient emperors to deal with Brother Qin. Such a power shouldn't exist in the first place. Brother Qin, there's something I want to say first. We're all very willing to deal with the Dong Shengshan Gate, but since you challenged Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie, you have to depend on yourself. If the people of the Violet Sect and Evil Palace interfere, we will act. But if you want to fight one-on-one, you have to depend on yourself. We also want to witness a battle at the pinnacle of the city of ancient emperors, someone stated. That's only natural. Qin Wentian nodded. I, Qin Wentian, didn't expand my Qin sect because I wanted to bully others. It's just that I don't wish to face the same situation as before, being surrounded by the various major powers. That was a battle of humiliation. Since I've issued a challenge to Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie, I naturally want to fight them one-on-one. There's no need for others to help me. Good. Someone cheered. Brother Qin is so daring. He hasn't been in the city of ancient emperors for long, yet he already dared to challenge the first-ranked Zi Daoyang and second-ranked Mo Xia. Truly admirable. Seems like the miraculous encounters in the antiquity city caused Brother Qin's strength to undergo a transformation. There's one more thing that everyone might not know. Back then, Mo Xia chased after us and entered the antiquity city as well. He also obtained the miraculous encounters we encountered. Qin Wentian calmly spoke, causing the eyes of everyone to gleam with sharpness. Mo Xia also entered the antiquity city? Everyone exclaimed in shock. That's indeed the case. Nam Huang Yunxi nodded. What the Southern Phoenix Holy Maiden said is the truth. We encountered some miraculous encounters in the antiquity city, but because our cultivation bases were too low, we were forced out. Right now the antiquity city has already closed. It's truly a pity. If you guys don't believe me, you can go and take a look yourself. Qin Wentian spoke frankly, and no one doubted his words. Since Brother Qin and the Southern Phoenix Holy Maiden both said this, we will naturally believe them. After Brother Qin's battle with Zi Daoyang and Mo Xia is over, let's go and take a look at the antiquity city, someone stated. Right. Since this is the case, let's deal with the Dongshengshan Gate first. If the Dongshengshan Gate uses immortal-ranked weapons in this battle, there's a high possibility that a war between immortal-ranked weapons would erupt. Everyone, make sure to prepare yourselves in advance. Qin Wentian spoke, as everyone nodded. The members of our Qin sect are scattered all over the city of ancient emperors. The Dongshengshan Gate has no idea who among us are. Their every action is under surveillance, and even if we want to leave the city of ancient emperors, it would already be too late. Right now, the Qin sect's momentum was boundless, and it naturally couldn't be hidden from the eyes and ears of the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate. They were all paying close attention to the Qin sect's actions, and upon learning of the news, the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate were in a dilemma. Everyone, what do you all think? At the base of the Dongshengshan Gate, the four leaders sat in the center as they asked the crowd. We can form an extremely powerful battle formation. Why would we be afraid of the Qin sect? This is the mission given to us by His Majesty, and we have to kill Qin Wentian no matter what, someone replied. The Qin sect isn't simple. Nam Huang Yunxi, Qin Wentian, and Princess Qing are actually ranked 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the Immortal Ascension rankings. This is something we didn't know before. And now that Qin Wentian has entered the antiquity city, he must have a miraculous encounter, and he even wants to challenge the 1st and 2nd rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings. I'm afraid it'll be even more difficult to deal with him. In addition, they've already gathered more troops from the Qin sect, and it'll be even more difficult to deal with them. There were also people who were worried. The effect of the battle formation won't be too great. We already have an irreconcilable enmity with Qin Wentian, and at that time, we'll have to use immortal-ranked weapons to fight. At that time, the situation would be extremely chaotic, and the situation would be extremely disadvantageous to us. After all, His Majesty only wants to kill Qin Wentian and the others, but he can't kill the other geniuses in the city of ancient emperors. Otherwise, the Dongshengshan Gate would have a huge grudge against the Qin sect. Many people of the Dongshengshan Gate had a pessimistic attitude. Don't tell me we're going to kill our way into the city of ancient emperors only to flee in such a sorry state? How are we going to explain this to His Majesty? Someone roared in anger, filled with disdain towards the pessimistic people. The two groups of people started to argue. Before this, they thought that with so many experts here, it would be extremely easy for them to annihilate Qin Wentian and the Qin sect. But after the first battle, they discovered that the Qin sect wasn't simple. And now, the Qin sect was even more terrifying, directly threatening their lives. Stop talking. The person in the lead waved his hand, interrupting the conversation. Arguing like this isn't a solution. Let's make preparations for battle at any time. If we return in defeat like this and sneakily sneak out of the city of ancient emperors, our Dongshengshan Gate would never be able to raise our heads in the entire immortal realms again. The expressions of the geniuses all turned heavy. Indeed, this was the city of ancient emperors, and the people here were all geniuses from all over the immortal realms. The news of this would surely spread throughout the immortal realms. If they were to flee with their tails between their legs, the reputation of the Dongshangshan Gate would be completely ruined. The Dongshangshan Gate had already sent an army to kill Qin Wentian, and they were already ruthless enough. Flee? The face of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor would be completely thrown away by them. Send a few people to the Violet Sect and Evil Palace. Let's see if they can form an alliance to deal with the Qin sect together. The person in the lead spoke in a low voice, his words causing the eyes of everyone to flicker. This was a good idea. If the Violet Sect and Evil Palace were willing to ally with them to deal with the Qin sect, they wouldn't have to fear the Qin sect at all. Very swiftly, the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate soared through the air, preparing to head to the Violet Sect and Evil Palace. Right now, the Violet Sect and Evil Palace weren't idle either. Zidaoyang and Wuxia both heard the news of Qin Wentian challenging them. The entire city of ancient emperors seemed to be waiting for a showdown at the pinnacle. It had been a very long time since such an exciting scene had appeared in the city of ancient emperors. Sunlight shone down on this land that had countless years of history. There were people flying through the air everywhere in the city of ancient emperors. There were geniuses contending against each other, sects and powers engaged in battle, experts searching for ancient ruins, and geniuses adventuring in dangerous places. All of them were constantly improving themselves. At the location where the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate were gathered, the atmosphere was extremely tense. Not long ago, they received news that the experts from the Qin sect, under the leadership of Qin Wentian, had already left the Qin sect and were rushing here. Evidently, not only were they monitoring the actions of the Qin sect was also monitoring them. Both sides were completely exposed to each other, and there was no way they could hide their actions from each other. And now, the great battle was finally about to begin. After hearing the reports, the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate heard that over 500 geniuses were rushing over. This caused the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate to be even more flustered. Some of them even had thoughts of fleeing from the city of ancient emperors. The situation seemed to have reversed. However, the Dongshangshan Gate ultimately didn't flee. Zidaoyang and Wuxia had promised them that once the Qin sect made a move, they would immediately rush over. Now they could only place their hopes on the Violet Sect and Evil Palace. Not only were the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate shaken, the Qin sect had also left their headquarters. The various geniuses in the city of ancient emperors all received the news, and this ancient city was in an uproar. The experts from the various powers all started to rush in the same direction, to the location where the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate were gathered. A great battle was about to erupt at any moment. Chapter 975. In the city of ancient emperors, countless geniuses gathered together like a flood, all of them rushing towards the same direction. In fact, because they were in a hurry, they even borrowed the strength of their immortal weapons and sped through the air with lightning speed. In the encampment of the Dongshangshan Gate, over 300 geniuses of the Dongshangshan Gate had already formed into a formation, divided into 4 groups. Their gazes turned to the horizons, only to see a black mass of experts flying through the air. Their auras were majestic, as dazzling as the sunlight cascading down from the heavens. The person in the lead was none other than Qin Wentian. Beside Qin Wentian, the 2 pillars of the Qin sect, Namhuang Yunxi and Qing'er, were all present. Other than them, Hua Taishu, Jun Mingchen, Zi Qingxian and the others were also present. There were also 2 gigantic demonic beasts guarding Qin Wentian. One of them was a gigantic body forged from pure gold, its eyes gleaming with a towering might, while the other was bathed in boundless flames. It was actually a vermilion bird that resembled a vermilion bird from purgatory. The flames around it caused the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. The experts of the Dongshangshan Gate all grew nervous. Their countenances were heavy as they stared ahead. The group of geniuses at the very front gave them an immense sense of pressure. All of them were supreme geniuses, and all of them seemed to have undergone a transformation, many times stronger compared to the past. Finally, both sides faced each other. The experts of the Qin sect stopped in the air, Qin Wentian swept his gaze over the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate as he coldly spoke. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor was killed by me because his disciple was useless. He actually sent an army of over 300 geniuses from the Dongshengshan Gate over here. Most probably, all the geniuses at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon of the Dongshengshan Gate were all gathered here. If all of you died here, how would the Dongxing Heaven Emperor feel? Qin Wentian, you borrowed the strength of the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors to fight against my Dongshengshan Gate. Don't you feel any shame for making use of others? The leader of the Dongshengshan Gate coldly spoke as he stared at Qin Wentian. What a joke. Qin Wentian stepped out and pointed his finger at the 4 people in the lead. The Dongshengshan Gate led over 300 experts to kill their way into the city of ancient emperors, creating a new history in the history of the city of ancient emperors. The 4 of you actually still have the face to say the word shameless? The 4 of you scram out here. I'll fight against the 4 of you alone. Do you dare? The expressions of the 4 in the lead sank as a terrifying light gleamed in their eyes. Qin Wentian was publicly issuing a challenge to the 4 of them. Humph. One of them coldly snorted, but he didn't accept the challenge. Qin Wentian was ranked at the top of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Now that his strength had undergone a transformation, he would only grow stronger. Even if the 4 of them joined forces, they didn't have the confidence to defeat Qin Wentian. You don't even dare to fight? Is this the Dongshengshan Gate? What a joke. Jun Mingchen coldly mocked. What? Does the Qin sect want to bully us with numbers? From afar, a voice filled with coldness and arrogance drifted over. From afar, a group of experts could be seen rushing over. These were none other than the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang. Right now, Zi Daoyang had already obtained 2/9 of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. His aura had grown even colder, and an intense sense of danger radiated from him. Zi Daoyang. Qin Wentian stared at Zi Daoyang, his eyes gleaming with sharpness as he indifferently asked, the Violet sect wants to form an alliance with the Dongshengshan Gate? That would have to depend on your Qin sect. Zi Daoyang coldly laughed. Zi Daoyang, I've said it before. After the matter of the Dongshengshan Gate is settled, I will challenge you alone, with the geniuses of the Qin sect as witnesses. I believe that the geniuses of the Violet sect wouldn't be willing to engage in a life-and-death battle with the members of my Qin sect, right? If your sect leader, Zi Daoyang, doesn't even have the courage to accept my challenge, it wouldn't be worth it for you to fight for him. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. When I rose to fame, Qin Wentian's whereabouts were still unknown. Do you think I wouldn't dare to accept your challenge? Zi Daoyang arrogantly spoke. Since this is the case, just watch from the side. If you, Zi Daoyang, are so eager to fight, I don't mind challenging you first. Qin Wentian's tone was filled with an intense provocation. Do you really think you're very strong? Big Brother Daoyang is the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. How can he be defeated by you? You don't even have the qualifications to challenge him, Xiaoling Yue, who was standing beside Zi Daoyang, added. Shut up. Qing'er coldly snorted. She turned her gaze onto Xiaoling Yue, her eyes so cold that it felt as though they could pierce right through her. You. Xiaoling Yue's countenance turned cold as she stared at Qing'er. But back then, she was defeated by Qing'er. She truly didn't have the qualifications to challenge Zi Daoyang. Xiaoling Yue, seems like you haven't embarrassed yourself enough yet. Jun Mingchen mocked. Xiaoling Yue's countenance was as cold as ice, as the aura around her grew even colder. Zi Daoyang, since this man wants to fight, you should teach him how to be a proper person. An expert from the Violet sect spoke. That's right, this man is truly brazen. But since there's a chance to settle this in a single battle, you should directly suppress him, and the Qin sect will naturally collapse, another person added. Zi Daoyang stared at Qin Wentian as he slowly spoke. Since you put it this way, I'll do as you wish. But before that, I'll wait for you to resolve the grudge between you and the Dongshengshan Gate. Qin Wentian shifted his gaze away from Zi Daoyang. With a wave of his hand, the geniuses of the Qin sect surrounded the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate, surrounding the entire space. At the same time, Qin Wentian spoke. If a single person from the Dongshanxian Gate takes out an immortal ranked weapon, activate the immortal ranked weapon battle immediately. Get into formation. The experts of the Dongshanxian Gate immediately commanded. This time around, they were at an absolute disadvantage in terms of numbers. If they were at a disadvantage in the immortal ranked weapon battle, they might still have a chance of victory by relying on their battle formations. Out of the 4 factions, 2 of them took the lead and got into formation. They were the Primordial Devil Ape Battle Formation and the Giant Cauldron Battle Formation. In an instant, their auras towered up into the sky. Qin Wentian also had a Sealing Formation, but right now they didn't have the advantage. Sealing the void would only serve to restrict them. Hence, the experts from the other 2 factions all got into formation. In an instant, the entire space was filled with battle formations as destructive might erupted forth. Mengchen, Taishu, Qingxian, Purgatory, the 4 of you go and break the various battle formations. Qing, follow me and break the Devil Ape Battle Formation. Nanfeng and Little Rascal, break the Giant Cauldron Battle Formation. Qin Wentian swiftly commanded. A moment later, all of them split up. The geniuses behind them followed closely behind them. Qin Wentian then commanded, brothers of the Qin sect, split the number of people evenly. You can choose whichever faction you want to follow. Let's break the formations first before killing the enemies. Qin Wentian didn't directly activate his immortal ranked weapon. In a battle like this, they would have a greater advantage. However, he still had to take into consideration the geniuses of the Qin sect who were willing to follow him. Once an immortal ranked weapon was activated, life and death would be decided in an instant. No one could guarantee that they wouldn't die. Hence, he would rather choose a head-on battle. Even if their opponents got into formation, they still had the advantage in terms of numbers and strength. In terms of individual combat prowess, the geniuses of the Qin sect were clearly stronger than the disciples of the Dongshanxian Gate. In the air, a terrifying black cloud abruptly appeared as a stifling pressure bore down. Faint traces of tribulation clouds could be seen, enveloping this entire space. This scene caused the gazes of the geniuses who were spectating from afar to freeze. What was going on? Did the law energy of the city of ancient emperors descend to witness this battle? Engage in close-range combat, break apart the formation. Qin Wentian and Qing directly rushed towards the Primordial Devil Ape Battle Formation. Behind them, there were a total of over 100 geniuses. It would be more logical to arrange for more people to break apart the 2 formations. Roar! The shadow of the devil ape appeared as the sky changed color. A thunderous roar rang out as an incomparably gigantic palm imprint slammed towards them, enveloping the entire space. Boundless spatial light radiated from Qing, as the law energy of space gushed forth. The immortal slaying diagram blasted out, transforming into a gigantic diagram that blotted out the sky. It was like a spatial vortex that shot towards the gigantic palm imprint, directly enveloping it. The gigantic palm imprint was actually swallowed up by the power of the Primordial Devil Ape Battle Formation. A heaven-shaking boom rang out as the immortal slaying diagram and the gigantic palm imprint shattered at the same time. Regardless of the disciples of the Qin sect or the disciples of the Dongshanxian Gate, all of them felt their hearts trembling. Qing actually relied on her own strength to negate the attack of the Primordial Devil Ape Battle Formation. How powerful Princess Qing! Immortal slaying diagram is countless times stronger compared to before. Their group of geniuses must have truly obtained a miraculous encounter, causing their strength to transform once again. The geniuses who were spectating from afar also exclaimed in shock. Too powerful. The power of that single attack could be said to be unrivaled. This time around, the geniuses of the Primordial Devil Ape Battle Formation were as fast as lightning. All of them were filled with violent attacks, yet they didn't unleash them. This was all because Qing single-handedly blocked that attack for them, allowing them to gain an opportunity. The Primordial Devil Ape Battle Formation let out a heaven-shaking roar. A gigantic foot stomped down, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. This stomp contained boundless runic inscriptions, capable of suppressing the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian's god's hand transformed into a long spear. His body expanded to several hundred meters, comparable to a devil ape. His long spear expanded explosively, pulsing with boundless runic light as destructive energy gushed forth frenziedly. The spear light flashed with a resplendent bloodline power. Qin Wentian stabbed out with his spear, causing the world to tremble. The destructive might collided with the gigantic foot, causing the long spear to pierce right through. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly as the gigantic foot exploded into pieces. The earlier attack was from Qing, and this attack was from Qin Wentian. Similarly, he relied on his own strength to resist the might of the battle formation. His strength was so terrifying that it was unheard of. The instant the battle erupted, the geniuses who were spectating were all dumbfounded. Their hearts pounded violently as they felt waves of shock in their hearts. This was what a true battle at the pinnacle was like. These two attacks were already sufficient for the geniuses of the Qin sect to approach. Beams of incomparably resplendent light radiated forth as they all launched their attacks, aiming for the experts of the Eastern Sage Immortal sect within the formation, disrupting their control over the formation. This was undoubtedly the best method to break the formation. As long as the members of the Eastern Sage Immortal sect were in a state of chaos, the formation would naturally crumble apart. Chapter 976. At the same time when Qin Wentian and Little Rascal were fighting, the entire space around them was trembling as everyone was fighting. Nanfeng Yunqi and Little Rascal joined forces. Their attacks were similarly extremely powerful. Nanfeng Yunqi was bathed in the flames of the phoenix, and with a flick of her finger, the phoenix cried out in unison as the flames tore everything apart. Little Rascal's body was forged from pure gold, and his gigantic frame was incomparably tough. Each of his attacks contained earth-shattering might, and the ancient cauldrons that descended from the sky were all shattered by the two of them. The other experts all launched their own attacks, causing chaos in the air. As for the other battle formations, Jun Mengchen, Hua Taishu, Zi Qingxian and Purgatory each led a team of experts, tearing apart the smaller battle formations. The power of a 9-man battle formation was clearly inferior to the 81-man battle formation. A clear sky worldly diagram appeared behind Jun Mengchen, and each of his punches contained a fearsome might. Clad in armor, he resembled an eternal monarch, borrowing the power of the clear sky worldly diagram to unleash the most ferocious of attacks. A small battle formation basically had no way to withstand his attacks, and in addition to the support of the experts behind him, they easily tore apart a small battle formation in a short period of time. Kill. Jun Mengchen punched out. His emperor's fist transformed into a golden torrent of destruction, lacerating everything. In just an instant, the 9 geniuses that formed the battle formation were directly torn apart. They didn't even have the time to use their trump cards or take out their divine weapons before they were already dead. Hua Taishu was similarly terrifying. After being bathed in the sacred luminance, his eyes of samsara seemed to have undergone a transformation as well. When he blinked, the light from the world of samsara could be seen, causing the sky to lose its color. Those experts only felt themselves being drawn into Hua Taishu's world, and the only thing in their minds was the revolving eyes of samsara. The experts of the Qin sect behind them attacked, using absolute strength to crush them. Their hearts trembled. Qin Wentian and the others truly had a miraculous encounter. Jun Mengchen and Hua Taishu's strength had all undergone a transformation, becoming terrifyingly powerful. Their cultivation bases were all at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. Zi Qingxian and Purgatory were also on a killing spree, exuding incomparable might. The talent and strength of the disciples of the Dong Shengshen Gate were originally inferior to Jun Mengchen and Zi Qingxian. These people were all geniuses who had passed the test of the Dong Shengshen Gate, and now that they had undergone the baptism of the sacred luminance, they underwent a qualitative transformation. How could these so-called geniuses of the Dong Shengshen Gate be comparable to them? The battle here was completely one-sided. What powerful combat prowess, how terrifying. These people are all going to be ranked within the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings. The spectating geniuses all felt their hearts trembling. Right now, not only were Qin Wentian, Qing'er and Namhuang Yunqi strong, Jun Mengchen, Hua Taishu and Zi Qingxian were all tyrannically strong, sweeping through everything like heavenly gods descending to the mortal world. Unexcelled in this world. Dongshengshan Gate is doomed. A thought appeared in the minds of the spectators. For this battle, the Dongshengshan Gate would definitely suffer a crushing defeat. Even if they condensed a battle formation, it would be useless. Daoyang gauged their strength. Xiaoling Yue's countenance was extremely cold. She was once ranked number 6 in the Immortal Ascension rankings. Although her ranking had fallen, she was still within the top 10. But now that she saw the strength of Jun Mingchen and the others, she discovered that any one of them might be able to fight against her. At the very least, this was the case in terms of strength. It was just that she hadn't fought against them head-on, and she had no way to gauge the exact extent of their strength. Qin Wentian, Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingxian. When they first entered the city of ancient emperors, they were all members of Xiaoling Yue's Xiao sect. At that time, they were simply inconspicuous, only at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon. But after they entered the city of ancient emperors, Xiaoling Yue felt extremely strange, and her entire body was filled with discomfort. Zi Daoyang's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at Qin Wentian and the others, observing their combat prowess. Indeed, all of them had grown stronger, and all of this should be attributed to the sealed Antiquity City. The Antiquity City. Zi Daoyang clenched his fists tightly. Why didn't he go there earlier? What good fortune did Qin Wentian and the others obtain exactly? Moxia had also entered, and he must have obtained some good fortune as well. If Moxia's strength also grew stronger, how strong would he be exactly? Would he be a threat to his position as the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings? After I collect all the inheritances of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, I will be able to use the abilities of these people. Zi Daoyang felt an intense desire in his heart. Right now, his goal was to obtain the complete inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Boom. At this moment, a destructive might directly descended from the sky, shocking everyone. This was like a calamity might that directly slammed into a strand of immortal sense that had just appeared. This strand of immortal sense originated from a genius of the Dongshengshan Gate. That genius was the son of an immortal king, and hence, he was protected by a strand of immortal sense. But even before he could rejoice that his life was spared, his immortal sense was already destroyed by the law energy. The law energy of the city of ancient emperors is interfering with this battle. The hearts of the geniuses were incomparably shocked. This grand battle actually attracted the intervention of the protectors of the city of ancient emperors, preventing their immortal sense from interfering. So it turned out that the protectors of the city of ancient emperors were here to ensure that this battle would proceed smoothly. Everyone stared at the sky. This was the first time the law energy of the city of ancient emperors had actually interfered with a battle. It was as though the protectors of the city of ancient emperors were acting as protectors for this battle. Although it took a long time to describe, from the start until now, only a short period of time had passed. All the attacks, the killing, the birth of the immortal sense, the descent of the tribulation energy, all happened in an extremely short period of time. The scenes were too much for the eyes to take in, causing the hearts of the spectators to pound wildly as they sighed in admiration. At this moment, Qin Wentian and Qing led the powerful group of geniuses into the primordial devil-ape battle formation. However, the experts in the formation didn't choose to fight alone. Their bodies were all enveloped by a terrifying demonic light. The shadow of the primordial devil-ape enveloped everyone as boundless demonic might radiated from it. Scram! A thunderous roar thundered out. The experts in the formation all blasted out their fists at the same time. All of them were blasted out by the primordial devil-ape battle formation. Incomparably ferocious fist lights crushed everything. Qin Wentian's countenance was extremely unsightly to behold. His body was gigantic, and his long spear was as fast as lightning as he blasted out countless afterimages. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly, and wherever the white runic light flashed, the fist lights would all be destroyed. But even so, there were still some disciples of the Qin sect who were struck. They coughed out blood as they were flung through the air. The defense of the primordial devil-ape battle formation is being depleted unceasingly. Brothers of the Qin sect, if you attack with all your might, you will definitely be able to tear it apart. Let me act as a protector for all of you. Qin Wentian roared. In the air, a terrifying primordial demon constellation flashed as numerous greater demons manifested, descending from the sky. Each of these demonic beasts exuded an incomparably violent demonic might. At the same time, the Slaughter Sword constellation and Suppression Annihilation constellation appeared as boundless light cascaded downwards. Sword might filled the sky, while the golden body of the primordial Devil Ape battle formation suppressed everything, frenziedly attacking the energy blasted out by the primordial Devil Ape battle formation, doing their best to protect the members of the Qin sect. To be able to cultivate the various constellations to such an extent, he's simply able to fight against 10,000 enemies. The strength of Qin Wentian alone was definitely sufficient to contend against the strength of an entire army. If it wasn't for the experts of the Eastern Sage Immortal sect forming a powerful battle formation, none of them would be able to withstand a single strike from him. They would all be killed with a single strike. Kill. The morale of the experts of the Qin sect soared. With such a powerful sect leader like Qin Wentian acting as their protector, how could they not be able to break through this mere battle formation? Qing Er's countenance was cold. Boundless spatial light radiated from her as she stood at the forefront of the battlefield, facing the battle formation. A palm imprint blasted out, landing on the light screen. At this moment, numerous spatial lotuses of destruction grew within the light screen. The power contained within the spatial law energy was able to penetrate through it. Qing Er's long hair fluttered in the wind as she circulated the green lotus sacred cannon once again. Her expression was cold as an azure lotus manifested beneath her feet. The lotus that permeated the light screen transformed into a terrifying killing intent that gushed forth. The experts within the battle formation all had expressions of extreme terror on their faces. Their strength was all concentrated within the battle formation. If they were distracted, the formation would collapse. The reason why this battle formation was so powerful was because everyone was working together as one. There were no individual cultivators, only a single entity. But at this moment, Qing Er's attack directly pierced into the heart of the battle formation, wanting to kill them all. Pucci. A few beams of blood-red light flashed as the spatial lotuses slashed into the light screen with unstoppable force. The countenances of the others drastically changed as they finally retracted their strength and frenziedly defended against Qing Er's attack. At this moment, the light screen of the battle formation grew weaker and weaker, as though it was about to collapse. Attack. When the experts of the Qin sect saw this, their attacks grew even more violent. Their combat prowess was already extremely high, and this time around, the sounds of their attacks shook the heavens as booming sounds rang out unceasingly. Qin Wentian stabbed out with his spear once more, causing the light screen to shatter as the long spear directly pierced through, instantly killing several people. At this moment, the battle formation of the Dongshengshan Gate had completely collapsed. The people of the Dongshengshan Gate are in for it. The spectators all had the same thought in their minds. These geniuses were all watching this battle from the outside, and their hearts were all filled with waves of shock. When the spear landed, they already knew that there was no more suspense to this battle. The Dongshengshan Gate would soon face Qin Wentian's revenge. Kill. When the experts of the Qin sect saw the battle formation collapsing, they were filled with rage as they madly slaughtered their way in. Numerous golden figures descended from the sky above the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate, forcefully suppressing them. After which, Qin Wentian's long spear struck out once more. Many people didn't even have the time to resist, and they all died. Just like what the spectators had expected, without the battle formation, there was no one who could withstand a single strike from Qin Wentian. At this moment, the faces of all the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate were filled with terror and despair. How could this be? They had slaughtered their way into the city of ancient emperors, and they were originally destined to annihilate the Qin sect and kill Qin Wentian. Why did the ending turn out like this? Qin Wentian's countenance was completely different from the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate. His eyes were filled with coldness. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor had ordered over 300 geniuses of the Dongshengshan Gate to slaughter their way into the city of ancient emperors to kill him. In this battle, He would make the Dongxing Heaven Emperor regret the wrong choice he had made, and make the Dongxing Heaven Emperor lose all face. Chapter 977. The battle formation collapsed. The experts of the Qin sect were like tigers entering a flock of sheep as they started their slaughter. The leader of the Dongxing Gate retreated into the crowd. His countenance was pale as he stared at the gigantic silhouette before him. It was none other than Qin Wentian. This Qin Wentian actually led so many experts to break the formation. The 300-plus geniuses of the Dongxing Gate slaughtered their way into the city of ancient emperors. Were they going to die here today? Both sides were already mortal enemies. Qin Wentian showed no mercy to them. Every time his spear struck out, someone would definitely die. A dazzling immortal light radiated forth. The leader of the battle formation took out an immortal-ranked weapon. Finally, because of despair, because he knew it was impossible to reverse the situation, he chose to take out his immortal-ranked weapon. The expressions of the experts of the Dongxing Gate stiffened when they saw this scene. Right now there was only one path left. Only by taking out immortal-ranked weapons would they have a chance of survival. The long spear in Qin Wentian's hand abruptly shot out explosively, resembling an incomparably resplendent bolt of lightning as it pierced towards the first immortal-ranked expert, who took out an immortal-ranked weapon. This fearsome spear contained a supreme killing might. That person had a look of terror on his face. He didn't even have time to think. He directly blocked the immortal-ranked weapon before him. With a thunderous boom, the atmosphere was stifling as another long spear shot over. This spear gleamed with immortal light. It was none other than an immortal-ranked weapon forged by Qin Wentian in the past. The long spear expanded explosively, reaching a length of several hundred meters, piercing through the air and directly into the body of that immortal-ranked expert, nailing him to the ground. A terrifying fluctuation gushed forth as an immortal sense manifested from that immortal-ranked expert. An incomparably imposing voice rang out as a beam of cold light shot towards Qin Wentian. "Vile beast, you are courting death." A roar of rage rang out, but at the same instant, a beam of destructive light cascaded down from the sky. Boundless destructive runes directly imprinted themselves on the body of the immortal king. As the sound of his voice faded, his immortal sense directly disintegrated, transforming into nothingness. Faintly, there was still an illusory figure that hadn't completely dissipated. He inclined his head and stared at the sky as he let out a roar of unwillingness. This scene could be said to be shocking, causing the experts of the Dongxing Gate to slow down as they took out their immortal weapons. Whoever takes out an immortal weapon will be the first to be annihilated. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. With the immortal-ranked weapons in his hands, a terrifying immortal light radiated from the bodies of the geniuses of the Qin sect. It was as though as long as someone from the Dongxing Gate took out an immortal-ranked weapon, that person would instantly become the target of everyone. No matter how they fought, this seemed to be a dead end, an unresolvable situation. The disciples of the Dongxing Gate, who killed their way into the city of ancient emperors, were destined to encounter a calamity of death. Everyone flee in different directions, as many as you can escape alive. A thunderous roar rang out from the crowd of people from the Dongxing Gate. This seemed to be the only solution. They could only flee with their lives on the line, killing their way out in different directions. If they could escape alive, that would depend on their luck. It's over. The morale of the Dongxing Gate's members is low, and their defeat is irreversible. This time around, their defeat would be even more miserable. The spectating geniuses silently mused. The army was defeated like a landslide. This was a battle of over 1,000 people, and the morale of the crowd was extremely important. The people of the Dongxing Gate no longer had the heart to continue fighting. All of them were thinking of killing their way out. Hence, they couldn't even withstand a single strike, as more and more experts were killed. Hua Taishu, your master, the myriad incarnations immortal king, lives in the eastern sage 13 prefectures, and is filled with reverence for his majesty. You actually dared to act against the disciples of my Dongxing Gate? All of a sudden, a voice filled with rage rang out from the crowd. In the competition between geniuses in the city of ancient emperors, everyone has their own master. Since I, Hua Taishu, have joined the Qin sect, I naturally have to fight. In addition, back then when you guys surrounded the disciples of the Qin sect, you didn't show me any mercy. What does it mean to implicate my master? Hua Taishu emotionlessly spoke. This is my personal matter. In addition, although I fought, I didn't kill a single person from the Dongshengshan Gate. In the immortal realms, even if there was a life-and-death battle between juniors, the elders would rarely interfere. For example, if a disciple of an immortal king killed a disciple of the Dongshengshan Gate because of a conflict, could it be that the Dongxing Heaven Emperor would act against the master of that disciple? Unless the person he killed was a descendant of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, or a personal disciple he liked. Naturally, this time around, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor ordered over 300 disciples to kill their way into the city of ancient emperors to kill Qin Wentian. Hua Taishu, standing on the side of the Qin sect, would definitely cause the Dongshengshan Gate to feel a grudge against the myriad incarnations immortal king. However, Hua Taishu didn't care so much. The myriad incarnations immortal king only resided in the eastern Sage 13 prefectures, and although she would occasionally go to the Dongxing Heaven Emperor's banquet, she couldn't be considered a subordinate of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. If the Dongxing Heaven Emperor wasn't happy, the myriad incarnations immortal king would at most leave Dongxing Heaven Emperor's territory. Hua Taishu, it's best if you don't step foot into the eastern Sage 13 prefectures in the future. If not, the Dongshengshan Gate will definitely not spare you. A disciple of the Dongshengshan Gate coldly spoke. Qin Wentian's gaze slowly turned over. Those minor formations weren't of much threat, and were all destroyed by Jun Mingchen and the others. As for the Devil Ape battle formation, victory was already in their grasp. Whether he participated or not, victory would be theirs. Right now, there was only one more formation that hadn't been broken. However, Namhuang Yunxi and Little Rascal were still working hard. Qing let's go and lend the Southern Phoenix a hand. Qin Wentian spoke to Qing Qing nodded and returned to Qin Wentian's side. Brothers, I'll leave this place to you guys. Qin Wentian spoke in a clear voice. Don't worry, I love to beat up dogs when they're down. Someone laughed. Using numbers to bully the weak? Are the geniuses of the city of ancient emperors all so shameless? Many disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate were already flustered and exasperated. They frenziedly tried to kill their way out of the encirclement, becoming prey in a cage. Haha, I'm truly impressed by you guys from the Dongshengshan Gate. What kind of courage do you guys need to say such shameless words? A disciple from the Qin sect laughed loudly. Before this, you guys had over 300 geniuses in a battle formation to deal with over 100 disciples from the Qin sect. Yet you guys still dared to say such words? How thick must your skin be? Now let's let you guys enjoy the taste of being surrounded. Are these people from the Dongshengshan Gate also amusing? The Dongxing Heaven Emperor has truly nurtured a bunch of good disciples. Those from the Qin sect had the absolute advantage, and their tone was extremely relaxed. As they spoke, Qin Wentian and Qing rushed towards the cauldron formation. Qin Wentian's long spear once again blasted out with heaven-shaking might. Namhuang Yunxi and Little Rascal were extremely excited when they saw the reinforcements from Qin Wentian and Qing. Their attacks grew even more ferocious. Other than that, Qin Wentian and many others also joined in, frenziedly attacking the cauldron formation. Staring at the densely packed disciples of the Qin sect, as well as the other battles, the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate all had looks of panic on their faces. Their will to fight was already on the brink of collapse. They appeared awe-inspiring and powerful, but everyone was well aware that they were just lambs waiting to be slaughtered. The Qin sect's disciples had cold smiles on their faces. They were like evil smiles of judgment, and they were preparing to reap their lives. What should we do? Finally, someone couldn't help but cry out involuntarily. No one could remain completely calm in the face of death. Their hearts were being corroded bit by bit. Boom! An earth-shattering shockwave spread out, and the battle formation was on the verge of collapse. Let's surrender. Someone lost his composure and roared. Qin Wentian. At this moment, a voice came out from the giant cauldron, shouting towards the outside. Stop fighting for now, we have something to say. The disciples of the Qin sect stared at Qin Wentian, only to see Qin Wentian's countenance turning ice cold as he coldly stated, "Continue to break the formation, kill." Truce? What a joke. When the Dong Shengshan Gate is in a disadvantageous position, it wants to stop the war. Ah! A scream rang out. Cracks had already appeared on the halo of the giant cauldron. Some of the experts in the battle formation were injured by Qin Wentian's attack. The terrifying vibrational force rushed into the battle formation. "We are willing to stop fighting and surrender, leaving the city of ancient emperors." The people of the Dong Shengshan Gate roared. However, Qin Wentian's attacks didn't seem to have any intentions of stopping. Was this a joke? "We will hand over our interspatial rings. Please spare our lives." Someone completely collapsed. More and more experts were injured. The Dong Shengshan Gate is nothing but a joke. Qin Wentian icily spoke. When they surrounded him, how tyrannical were they? Now that they were in an absolute disadvantage, stop fighting? Surrender? Indeed, these people are like clowns. It's fine if the Dong Shengshan Gate lost, but now, their face has been thrown away by these people. The spectators were all sighing. Finally, a deafening sound rang out as the victor of the battle was shattered. A one-sided slaughter had begun, and the disciples of the Eastern Sage Immortal sect finally took out their immortal-ranked weapons. But facing against the number of geniuses from the Qin sect who outnumbered them by several times, even if they took out their immortal-ranked weapons, there was no way for them to reverse the situation. Fresh blood flowed unceasingly through the air. The spectators felt their hearts trembling when they saw this. This was the largest battle they had ever witnessed in the city of ancient emperors. Similarly, there had never been so many experts dying in a single battle before. Today a precedent had been set. This was destined to be a calamity for the Dong Shengshan Gate. In the Eastern Immortal City, at the Dong Shengshan Gate, there were numerous majestic halls that exuded an ancient and glorious aura. However, at this moment, an incomparably tyrannical aura could be felt within the majestic halls. After which, a voice rang out, soaring up into the sky. "Ear has fallen." An old man's rage towered up into the sky as he soared into the air. "My good disciple, something major has happened in the city of ancient emperors." More and more figures soared up into the sky as roars of rage rang out, causing the entire Dong Shengshan Gate to tremble. In the public square before a majestic hall, more and more experts appeared. All of their expressions were incomparably sharp, cold to the extreme. Their disciples were sent out to carry out missions, and now, all of them had fallen one after another. There were people who sent their immortal senses into the city of ancient emperors, and after witnessing the battle, they knew that the disciples of the Dong Shengshan Gate were finished. What happened? An immortal king of the Dong Shengshan Gate, who didn't know what was going on, walked over and asked. However, all of them had heavy expressions on their faces. But even so, they didn't dare to blame His Majesty for giving the order. Rumble. Above the sky, there was a faint shocking aura spreading down. There seemed to be a terrifying flame in the sky, as if a super expert had appeared. "It's a paragon, the paragon is enraged." The immortal kings of the Dong Shengshan Gate felt their hearts pounding. Out of the 4 paragons of the Dong Shengshan Gate, one of them was sent to the city of ancient emperors to lead the disciples of the Dong Shengshan Gate to kill Qin Wentian. At this moment, a heaven-shaking emperor might gushed forth as an illusory shadow appeared in the air. This figure stood high up in the clouds, trampling the heavens. This was none other than the silhouette of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. However, this wasn't the true body of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. In the future, if the people of my Dong Shengshan Gate encounter Qin Wentian, Jun Mengchen, Zi Qingxian and the others, kill them all without mercy, including the disciple of the myriad incarnations Immortal King, Hua Taishu. A cold voice rang out from the sky, filled with imposingness and towering anger. This time around, the Dong Shengshan Gate had lost all face. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor personally gave the order, sending over 300 genius disciples to their deaths. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor's anger towered up into the sky. He didn't even give face to the myriad incarnations Immortal King, and directly gave the order to kill her disciple, Hua Taishu. Chapter 978. In the city of ancient emperors, corpses littered the ground as blood flowed like rivers. It was unknown how many experts had fallen in this battle. In this battle, the Qin sect had an overwhelming advantage, suppressing the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate. Although many of them were injured by the battle formation, not a single one of them died. This was because the Dongshengshan Gate was at an absolute disadvantage, and they had no way to take advantage of the situation to kill their disciples. The disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate were suppressed from the start to the end. Once the battle formation was broken, a massacre ensued. Although there were some who managed to kill their way out, this battle was already a lesson learned through blood. Most probably, the Dongshengshan Gate would feel heartache for quite some time. Who knew what the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, who gave the order, would feel? Most probably, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor was currently enraged and wanted nothing more than to tear Qin Wentian and the others into 1,000 pieces. Qin Wentian's strength is completely incomparable to the past. This is a transformation. Not only him, Namhuang Yunqi, Princess Qing, and even Jun Mingchen Zi Qingxian, and their demonic beasts have all transformed as well. Their combat prowess is extraordinary. The geniuses in the surroundings couldn't remain calm when they saw the ending of the battle. After this battle, there would be a heaven-shaking change in the Immortal Ascension rankings. The top 10 rankings would be completely rearranged, and many names would be removed from the top 10 rankings. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over the battlefield as his body gradually returned to its normal size. His entire body was still shimmering with light as he clasped his hands to the experts of the Qin sect. "I, Qin, thank you for your help in this battle. If not, I would have been in a disadvantageous position and would have been hunted down by the members of the Dongshengshan Gate. Sect leader is too polite. We are all brothers after joining the Qin sect. We couldn't bear to see the actions of the Dongshengshan Gate and the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, which was why we decided to participate in this battle. We wanted to teach the Dongxing Heaven Emperor a lesson about the rules of the city of ancient emperors. He didn't want his own disciples to slaughter their way into the city of ancient emperors." That's right. Brother Qin's combat capability in this battle can be said to be earth-shattering and admirable. It was us who destroyed the Dongshengshan Gate, and we can't stand them. In the next battle, Brother Qin needs to solve it himself. Brother Qin, I can see that your strength is already sufficient to fight against Zi Daoyang and Wuxia. Next, we will cheer for you, and look forward to you challenging the peak of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Haha, the disciples of the Qin sect will be able to witness this pinnacle battle. We are all filled with anticipation. The geniuses of the Qin sect spoke one after another. Being able to participate in this grand event in the city of ancient emperors, they were all willing to do so. If not, they wouldn't have joined the Qin sect in the first place. These geniuses were all hot-blooded people, and they loved to watch battles like this the most. There had never been anyone who could challenge the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang, and the second ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Even Namhuang Yunqi, who was ranked third, had failed. Now it all depended on the transformed Qin Wentian. Would he be able to defeat Zi Daoyang and Wuxia from the Divine Altar in the City of Ancient Emperors? Don't worry, as long as the members of the Violet Sect and Evil Palace don't participate in the battle, the disciples of the Qin sect only need to watch. I, Qin Wentian, have already broken through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. So why would I be willing to join forces with others to fight against Zi Daoyang and Wuxia? If that's the case, I wouldn't be fit to be the sect leader of the Qin sect. Qin Wentian spoke in a clear voice, exuding a heroic aura. Good. The disciples of the Qin sect all cheered, filled with anticipation for this battle. Do you think you're invincible in the city of ancient emperors just because you defeated the members of the Dongshengshan Gate? Don't forget, the members of the Dongshengshan Gate are merely a bunch of motley crew. Given Qin Wentian's strength, although he might be able to hold his own in front of the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate, he wouldn't even be able to withstand a single strike from Gij Daoyang, the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Don't be too overconfident. If not, I'm afraid it wouldn't be long before you all become the laughingstock of the city of ancient emperors. Xiao Lingyue saw that Qin Wentian and the others were speaking one after another, as though victory was already in their grasp. Her words instantly turned cold, mocking the members of the Qin sect. The countenances of the experts from the Qin sect froze. Although Xiao Lingyue's words were arrogant, they weren't without reason. Before this, Qin Wentian's performance was extremely domineering. In front of the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate, he was like a god of war, unstoppable and unstoppable. However, a battle like this also depended on the opponent. Because the opponent was weak, Qin Wentian would appear stronger. This was very normal. But if the opponent was Zi Daoyang, the situation would be different. Zi Daoyang, the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, had always been an invincible existence in the city of ancient emperors. In addition, not only had he obtained a portion of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance, he had also devoured the inheritances of others, growing even stronger. As for Wuxia, he himself was already incomparably tyrannical, and had also entered the antiquity city like Qin Wentian. How could he be weak? Everything still depended on the battle. You have long become the laughingstock of the city of ancient emperors, yet your mouth is still so shameless. Jun Mengchen stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He didn't care if his opponent was a beautiful woman or not, directly insulting her with words. He truly couldn't stand this Xiao Lingyue from a very long time ago. And now she was actually still so ugly, calling him Daoyang Gij again and again. How disgusting. You. Xiao Lingyue pointed her finger at Jun Mengchen from afar. What about you? Jun Mengchen stepped out. Do you want to fight? Let's fight one-on-one, a life-and-death battle. Your father's immortal sense has already been destroyed, right? Don't try to seduce other men just because you want to fight. Jun Mengchen's aura was extremely sharp, filled with provocation. Xiao Lingyue's anger intensified, and a cold qi gushed forth from her body, gushing forth. Fight! Xiao Lingyue coldly snorted. No matter what, she was once ranked number 6 in the Immortal Ascension rankings. How could she swallow this humiliation after being humiliated by a 7th-level ascendant like Jun Mengchen? Xiao Lingyue was about to step out. Yet Zi Daoyang stretched his hand out to block her. Zi Daoyang's eyes gleamed with a violet light as he stared at Jun Mengchen. Bullying a woman. Don't you feel any shame? If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Killing you is as easy as lifting a hand. My junior brother is the same as me. When he entered the city of ancient emperors, he was only at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon. At that time, you were already the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. You actually dared to challenge my junior brother with a sense of superiority? Don't you feel any shame? Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After that, he stepped out and faced Zi Daoyang. Since Wuxia isn't here yet, I shall fight you, Zi Daoyang. After speaking, Qin Wentian pointed his finger at Zi Daoyang. Scram out here. Scram out here. His voice reverberated through the heavens and earth, echoing unceasingly. The experts of the Qin sect all retreated, opening up the battlefield. Even Jun Mengchen and the others retreated, standing behind Qin Wentian. Their gazes were filled with provocation as they stared at Zi Daoyang. They were all filled with anticipation for this battle. The people of the Violet sect also retreated. There was no need for Zi Daoyang to say anything, they had already done so. Zi Daoyang had to fight, he had no reason not to. The city of ancient emperors was a place where geniuses gathered. Compared to ordinary people, they valued strength and pride even more. If Zi Daoyang still didn't fight, there was no need for the people of the Violet sect to follow Zi Daoyang. Qin Wentian's Qin sect had the advantage in numbers, yet they didn't initiate an inter-sect war. Instead, they wanted to challenge Zi Daoyang, the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Did they have any reason to refuse? There was none. The instant Qin Wentian stepped out, the outcome of this battle was already determined. Boom! Zi Daoyang stepped out as violet light revolved around him. His constellation shone brightly, exuding a terrifying might. Even his eyes turned violet, radiating a soul-stirring violet light. He spoke with incomparable arrogance. I once said that even if you stepped into the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, you wouldn't be able to withstand a single strike. Since you wish for death so much, I shall grant you your wish. Qin Wentian similarly stepped out. A violent aura gushing forth as his constellation shone in the air. His divine eyes gleamed like lightning as he coldly spoke. I really don't know where your confidence comes from. The confidence of the #1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. The #1 ranker of the City of Ancient Emperors. Zi Daoyang's arrogance soared to the clouds as he pointed his finger at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian, you are destined to become a joke, nailed to the pillar of shame in the City of Ancient Emperors, becoming the laughingstock of the entire City of Ancient Emperors. This man is the most pretentious person I've ever seen. I really want nothing more than to rush up and give him a good beating. Jun Mingchen's personality was impulsive. His aura erupted forth, and he couldn't help but want to rush out and fight Zi Daoyang. This fellow was too pretentious, to the point where even ghosts and gods would weep. It was as though he was the #1 expert under the heavens. Although right now, Zi Daoyang was indeed the #1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Arrogance. The eyes of the experts in the surroundings gleamed with a dazzling light. Qin Wentian was a rising star, challenging Zi Daoyang, a genius at the peak of the City of Ancient Emperors. Could he really defeat him? Or was it like what Zi Daoyang had said? He was destined to be nailed to the pillar of shame. Everything would be revealed very soon. Zi Daoyang circulated his 2 ultimate arts, the Ultimate Violet Saint Immortal Art, and the Thousand Autumns Emperor Art. A divine-like shadow appeared in the air. This was none other than his constellation, unexcelled in the world. He, Zi Daoyang, had never been defeated before in the City of Ancient Emperors. The two of them stared at each other, their battle intense towering up into the sky as they clashed madly. Boom. Boom. The two of them stepped out at the same time. With just a single step, they traversed the distance between them, facing each other head-on. A supreme might erupted forth from Zi Daoyang, like an undefeatable king. From Qin Wentian's body, a heaven-shaking roar could be heard. Qin Wentian's aura was incomparably majestic and unshakable, like a divinity fighting against the heavens and earth. Die. Zi Daoyang punched out. Violet light converged into the heaven-destroying divine fist, capable of penetrating through everything. Boundless violet runic light circulated around it. Qin Wentian's star-seizing palm imprint could suppress the heavens and earth, containing boundless might. His palm imprint shone with dazzling runic light, containing a supreme destructive might that could destroy everything. The two attacks collided, instantly causing the entire space to tremble. How powerful! Qin Wentian fought head-on against Zi Daoyang, and he didn't even use the power of God's hand. How powerful! The crowd sighed in admiration. Qin Wentian's current aura was completely different from before. His strength had transformed, and he was now like a god of war. Swish, Zi Daoyang stretched out his left hand as astral light cascaded down from the air, transforming into a gigantic diagram that pierced out with a violet spear. Qin Wentian didn't hesitate and blasted out another palm imprint. However, it was actually blocked by the boundless runic light. The gigantic light screen dissipated it, and a terrifying might gathered within it. After that, Qin Wentian's star-seizing palm imprint was actually repelled, and it was accompanied by Zi Daoyang's heaven-destroying violet fist, launching a 2-pronged attack. The Thousand Autumns Empyrean art is too powerful, much stronger compared to the Xian Emperor's heavenly mystic mirror art. Even a palm imprint as powerful as Qin Wentian's could be countered, as expected of Zidi's ultimate art. In the past, when Namhuang Yunxi, Princess Qing, and Qin Wentian fought Zi Daoyang, it was still manageable. But now Qin Wentian is alone. He would definitely be countered by the Thousand Autumns Empyrean art. Many people mused in their hearts when they saw this scene. So many people ganged up on Zi Daoyang, and even the Thousand Autumns Empyrean art couldn't be used in time. But if Qin Wentian was alone, he would definitely be countered by Zidi's ultimate art. Chapter 979. When Qin Wentian saw his own attack and Zi Daoyang's attack gushing over, his countenance didn't change at all. His body was sparkling and translucent, and runic inscriptions circulated around it. A boundless might gushed forth from his body, and he resembled a god of war. Both of his fists punched out explosively, capable of suppressing everything. Two dazzling beams of fiend god light shot out, wanting to penetrate through the heavens and earth, destroying the void. Two heaven-shaking sounds of collision rang out at the same time. A terrifying might swept through the entire space, terrifying to the extreme. However, amidst the chaotic shockwaves, Zi Daoyang's violet long spear pierced out. This violet long spear contained a towering violet qi, containing the power of law energy, and was indestructible. Zidi's ultimate violet saint immortal art was known as the strongest defensive cultivation art. Although it was an exaggeration, the power of its attacks was truly terrifying. This violet long spear whistled through the air, resembling the wails of ghosts and the howls of wolves. It contained an unfathomable might, capable of shattering the heavens and earth. A violet tempest manifested, enveloping the entire space. Boundless energy converged in Qin Wentian's body as numerous sword runes appeared. Each sword rune contained a heaven-shaking might, capable of annihilating everything. Qin Wentian stabbed out with a single finger, causing the entire space to freeze. The sword qi instantly transformed into a beam of white light that enveloped the entire space, capable of annihilating everything. A supremely sharp sword manifested, slamming into the violet long spear, directly tearing it apart. However, there was still some remnant might remaining, and the sword energy continued to surge forward, piercing towards Zi Daoyang. Zi Daoyang retreated, circulating the Thousand Autumns Emperor's art to its limits. Resplendent light shone as the runic inscriptions shone resplendently. When the sharp sword pierced into Zi Daoyang's body, it seemed as though it wanted to tear apart the runic light and penetrate into Zi Daoyang's body. However, it didn't succeed, and was forcibly neutralized. What a powerful attack! Qin Wentian hasn't even unleashed his god's hand, yet his attacks aren't inferior to Zi Daoyang's at all. He's simply too powerful. Before this, when he fought against the experts from the Dongshengshan Gate, he had the absolute advantage. But as for how strong he is exactly, it's impossible to tell. But now that he's fighting against Zi Daoyang, we can truly understand how powerful Qin Wentian's attacks are. The hearts of the spectators trembled. Regardless of the Qin sect, the Violet sect, or the spectators in the City of Ancient Emperors, all of them were shocked by how powerful Qin Wentian was. He didn't even need to borrow the power of God's hand, yet he could still fight head-on against Zi Daoyang. Is this the confidence of the #1 ranker in the Immortal Ascension rankings? The confidence of the top ranker in the City of Ancient Emperors? Looks like he's only SOSO. His attacks are actually at a disadvantage. Jun Mingchen spoke in a clear voice. Earlier, Zi Daoyang's words were extremely arrogant, and had no one in his eyes. Even before the battle started, he already felt that he could easily suppress Qin Wentian. How laughable! Zi Daoyang would pay a price for his arrogance. The one who would truly be nailed to the pillar of shame in the City of Ancient Emperors would be him, Zi Daoyang. You do have some strength, but if that's all you have, you think you have the ability to defeat me? Isn't that a little too ridiculous? A violet giant appeared behind Zi Daoyang, resembling a heavenly divinity that had descended to the mortal world. Boundless violet light enveloped Zi Daoyang, and every inch of his body flowed with violet light. This was the ultimate violet saint immortal art he had cultivated to the pinnacle. Rumble! That violet giant was like a violet king, and its constellation transformed into a supreme attack power. Numerous violet long spears pierced through the air, all of them exploding towards Qin Wentian. The entire space seemed to be enveloped by a boundlessly vast violet shadow, as the millions of long spears destroyed everything in this area. Humph! Qin Wentian coldly snorted, his eyes gleaming with a sharpness akin to lightning. Rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly from within his body as boundless energy churned within. In the air above him, numerous golden silhouettes stood guard in all directions, enveloping Qin Wentian. In an instant, a screen of runic light appeared above Qin Wentian's head, circulating with boundless might. The spears that shot out from the golden silhouettes were directly suppressed before being devoured by the runic light. You are even less of a match for me in terms of constellation. Qin Wentian arrogantly spoke. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out in the air as the sky changed color. His constellation was already extremely powerful, and after experiencing the baptism of the sacred luminance, If it was an ordinary opponent at the same level as him, he only needed to unleash his constellation to crush them. It was just that it wasn't enough to fight against Zi Daoyang. But this Zi Daoyang actually wanted to compete against him in terms of constellation? That was undoubtedly courting his own humiliation. Light flashed as the 4 great constellations appeared. Numerous gigantic ancient demons appeared, howling madly as they stared at Zi Daoyang's silhouette. At the same time, towering sword might gushed forth, wanting to annihilate everything as it slashed towards Zi Daoyang. Zi Daoyang's countenance stiffened. He circulated the Thousand Autumns Emperor art to its limits, causing a screen of light to connect to the skies, blotting out the sun. The sword might slammed into the screen unceasingly, causing boundless ripples to form. Your Thousand Autumns Emperor art should be able to break through like the heavenly mystic mirror art, right? I wonder how strong of an attack it can withstand. A majestic aura gushed forth from Qin Wentian's body as rumbling sounds echoed out. Numerous gigantic ancient bells erupted forth from Qin Wentian's body, floating in the air. These ancient bells radiated boundless golden might as they blasted out, akin to boundless lightning bolts blasting towards Zi Daoyang. Each and every one of his innate techniques is actually so powerful. The spectators were all stunned by the power of Qin Wentian's attacks. This man was too terrifying. The might of those ancient bells seemed to be able to suppress everything. Qin Wentian had cultivated the 10,000 laws record before. Any innate technique he used could be cultivated to the extreme. In addition to the baptism of the sacred luminance, his body was filled with boundless energy. In addition to the spirit refinement method, as well as his Fian celestial-like physique, each and every one of his attacks were all extremely powerful, let alone innate techniques. Zi Daoyang unleashed the Thousand Autumns Emperor art to the extreme. Boundless golden lightning slammed into the light inscriptions, and at the same time, numerous gigantic demonic beasts trampled down, launching violent attacks. Zi Daoyang wielded a gigantic violet sword that contained boundless might. However, Qin Wentian merely snorted and stepped out. Rumbling sounds rang out from his body as the silhouettes of golden rocks manifested. Qin Wentian appeared in the air above Zi Daoyang, and stabbed out with his finger. Numerous terrifying wind rocks tore through everything as they shot towards Zi Daoyang. All sorts of attacks blasted out at the same time, causing the sky to change color. The hearts of the spectators were all filled with trepidation. Even Xiao Lingyue's countenance paled. She could faintly sense that the situation was far from good. This Qin Wentian was simply too powerful. Even when facing Zi Daoyang, he wasn't at a disadvantage at all. Zi Daoyang's violet sword slashed out, shattering the golden rock. However, his violet sword also broke apart inch by inch. Qin Wentian's silhouette descended as a gigantic palm imprint blasted out, not giving Zi Daoyang any chance to catch his breath. The demonic beasts continued to attack, wanting to tear Zi Daoyang apart. Boom! Amidst the violet light, a fearsome black-colored light gushed forth as a fearsome might gushed forth, shaking the heavens and earth. What a terrifying aura! That's the inheritance power of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Zi Daoyang already has the inheritance of 2 great emperors. He's definitely extraordinary. Numerous violet-black arms manifested from Zi Daoyang's body, causing the hearts of the spectators to tremble. These arms blasted out at the same time, causing the sky to change color as a black vortex appeared, engulfing everything. The demonic beasts howled as they were grabbed by the terrifying arms, sucked into the vortex. Do you think you can do anything to me like this? At this moment, Zi Daoyang was incomparably enraged. He was the #1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, the strongest genius in the City of Ancient Emperors. Yet in this battle he was actually being suppressed and was at a disadvantage. How could he not be enraged? When Qin Wentian first entered the City of Ancient Emperors, he was still a 7th level ascendant. His pride, his dignity, had been trampled on in this battle. He wouldn't allow himself to be defeated. I really don't know where your confidence comes from. You are like a stray dog, completely suppressed. Yet you still dare to flaunt your might? Qin Wentian roared. He stretched out his palms as an even more terrifying tempest manifested in his palms. Rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly as boundless might surged within his body. God's hand appeared. causing him to resemble a world-shaking god of war. You only have 2 parts of the inheritance. How can you stand against the god's hand? Qin Wentian roared. God's hand manifested, manifesting a platinum-long spear that pierced out. One of Zi Daoyang's black arms didn't have enough time to dodge, and was directly struck. With a thunderous boom, destructive runic light shook the heavens and earth, shattering the black arms as the vortex dissipated. You said that even if I'm at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, I'm still not your opponent? Let me enlighten you. I'm at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. You can't afford to antagonize me. Qin Wentian's long spear slashed out once more, launching consecutive attacks. Rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly as Zi Daoyang's black arms were destroyed one after another. How could a mere 2 parts of the inheritance stand against the god's hand? Chapter 980. How tyrannical. The spectators felt their hearts trembling as they watched this battle. Qin Wentian was simply too tyrannical. Even though his opponent was the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang. Zi Daoyang said that even if Qin Wentian broke through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, he wouldn't be his match. Qin Wentian tyrannically replied, saying that Zi Daoyang couldn't afford to antagonize a 9th level ascendant like him. How tyrannical was this? Those from the Violet sect all had solemn expressions on their faces as they stared fixedly at this battle. Was the undefeatable legend of the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings about to be destroyed? The geniuses in the surroundings all had incomparably sharp expressions on their faces. Their eyes didn't even blink as they stared fixedly at the battle. This was a battle at the peak of the city of ancient emperors. After this battle, would the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings have a new owner? Too powerful. Qin Wentian has already cultivated ancient Emperor Yi's secret art, God's hand, to the acme of perfection. That long spear seems to be formed from a combination of countless runic inscriptions. That seemingly simple strike is actually a terrifying runic formation, containing a heaven-shaking might. Zi Daoyang's inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor is already powerful enough, but when faced with God's hand, he can only be suppressed. The hearts of the spectators trembled. Zi Daoyang's energy was unceasingly shattered. The ancient bell floating above his head continued to attack unceasingly, and the demonic beasts were still going berserk. Even his Thousand Autumns Emperor art had no way to withstand such a frenzied attack. The runic inscriptions were instantly shattered, not giving him any chance to catch his breath. Scram! Zi Daoyang roared in rage. His violet body seemed to fuse with Zi Daoyang's body, transforming into a violet immortal that could annihilate everything. Rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly. Qin Wentian's aura grew stronger once more. His body expanded once more as his long spear expanded. Yet another world-shaking spear strike, capable of annihilating everything, directly piercing into the violet immortal's body. A thunderous boom rang out. No matter what kind of power the violet immortal had, it was unable to block Qin Wentian's attack. Zi Daoyang, is that all your strength? Qin Wentian's entire body radiated a heaven-shaking divine glow, cascading downwards. He was like an invincible god of war, capable of destroying everything. The number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang, was humiliated to the point where he only had this little bit of strength. Another beam of intense light flashed as Qin Wentian activated his battle art. At this moment, other than Zi Daoyang, no one knew how terrifying Qin Wentian was. An overwhelming aura gushed forth from his body, akin to that of an immortal. His skin, bones, flesh, and blood all contained boundless energy. At this instant, all of that energy was channeled into this world-shaking spear strike, piercing towards Zi Daoyang's body. Puchi! The long spear directly penetrated through the screen of light, piercing into Zi Daoyang's body. Zi Daoyang roared in rage as a violet shield appeared around him. However, the instant it came into contact with the long spear, the shield was instantly destroyed. Zi Daoyang no longer had the strength to block this spear. Is Zi Daoyang going to be defeated? To think that Qin Wentian's strength has actually reached such a tyrannical level. The hearts of the spectators trembled. This heaven-shaking attack finally landed, slamming into Zi Daoyang's body. A piercing sound rang out as the violet shield around Zi Daoyang was completely shattered. He coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood as his body was flung through the air, blasting towards the experts of the Violet Sect. His speed of retreat was so fast that it caused the hearts of the spectators to tremble. Boom, boom, boom. The experts of the Violet Sect joined hands to catch his body. Zi Daoyang's countenance was pale as he coughed out blood unceasingly. His robes were torn apart by that attack, revealing a thin layer of violet robes. There weren't any signs of damage at all. Under the might of that spear strike, there wasn't even a single hole in it. At this moment, the violet robes were shimmering with dazzling runic light, causing the hearts of the spectators to tremble. An immortal ranked weapon. It's an extremely powerful defensive immortal ranked weapon. Although it can't completely block the attack, it's very likely that the majority of Qin Wentian's power was dissipated. But even so, Zi Daoyang was still heavily injured and almost killed. Zidi's immortal sense has finally appeared. At this moment, the crowd was shocked. A supreme silhouette appeared, exuding a terrifying might. But at the instant he appeared, the law energy in the air descended from the sky, directly enveloping him. Impudent. Zidi inclined his head and roared. He lifted his palms and attacked, actually wanting to resist the law energy of the city of ancient emperors. However, that supreme law energy contained a heaven-shaking might that instantly enveloped his immortal sense. Tens of thousands of beams of tribulation light shot down, slamming into the immortal sense. Zidi roared in rage, but his immortal sense was still destroyed, vanishing without a trace. His immortal sense was destroyed. How terrifying! The crowd sighed in admiration. Zidi's immortal sense had even appeared. If he didn't have that immortal ranked robe, Zi Daoyang would have already died from that strike. Zi Daoyang has been defeated in this battle. The number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang, was defeated by Qin Wentian. At this instant, countless thoughts flashed through the minds of the countless geniuses in the surroundings. Everyone felt their hearts trembling. In this battle, Qin Wentian wasn't at a disadvantage at all. In fact, he had always held the initiative. Zi Daoyang wasn't a match for Qin Wentian. Just like Qin Wentian's arrogant words, Zi Daoyang couldn't afford to antagonize a 9th-level ascendant like him. Qin Wentian had used his strength to prove his words. Zi Daoyang couldn't afford to antagonize him. In this battle, Qin Wentian had domineeringly proven himself. Before this, he had been on the passive side and was hunted down by others. Without exception, it was all because his cultivation base was too low. Now that his cultivation base had risen, even the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings was defeated by him. Who else could contend against him? After this battle, the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings had changed hands. Qin Wentian. Everyone stared ahead, staring at that supreme silhouette. The city of ancient emperors would forever remember this name. The geniuses from all over the immortal realms had entered the city of ancient emperors to temper themselves. Being able to rank number 1 in the Immortal Ascension rankings was a sign of true talent. Those from the Violet Sect all had complicated expressions on their faces. They had always felt pride in joining the Violet Sect because of the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. The Violet Sect was established by Zi Daoyang. In the city of ancient emperors, Zi Daoyang was an undefeatable legend. But now, this legend had been shattered by someone who had just entered the city of ancient emperors. Xiaoling Yue couldn't accept this scene. Her body trembled as an expression of disbelief appeared on her face when she stared at the injured Zi Daoyang. How could this be? How could this be? Qin Wentian had actually defeated her elder brother Daoyang? In that case, everything that had happened earlier was nothing but a mockery. Only those from the Qin sect had expressions of excitement on their faces. Their eyes shone with a bright light, filled with pride for participating in this battle. Qin Wentian didn't disappoint them. Number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings? Jun Mingchen mocked. Zi Daoyang, before this, you were merely bullying us because our cultivation bases were lower. Your talent as the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings is only SOSO. As for that woman beside you, she's even more ridiculous. She kept calling you Daoyang Gij. But did she really think that you were unrivaled under the heavens? Zi Daoyang was speechless, and so was Xiaoling Yue. If Zi Daoyang was victorious, the only thing left for Qin Wentian would be disdain and humiliation. But since Qin Wentian was the victor, Zi Daoyang had fallen from his pedestal. His radiance was no longer as radiant as before, and he even had to bear the mocking gazes of many. Zi Daoyang coughed and tossed a medicinal pill into his mouth. He inclined his head and stared at Qin Wentian as a terrifying coldness flickered in his eyes. There's no need to look at me like that. All this humiliation was brought upon by you. Qin Wentian stared at Zi Daoyang's cold eyes as he calmly continued. Before this, how arrogant were you? I still remember the first time you appeared before me. How lofty, unexcelled in the world. You were the #1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, and your arrogance was boundlessly boundless, capable of looking down on everyone. But at that time, you should have already realized how miserable your fall would be when you were defeated. Your arrogance and loftiness were all because of your unrivaled strength in the city of ancient emperors. But now, that halo has been stripped away by me. Before me, what do you Zi Daoyang count for? Qin Wentian's voice directly pierced into Zi Daoyang's heart. He stepped out, his voice reverberating through the heavens and earth. What did Zi Daoyang count for? He had been defeated. In front of Qin Wentian, his earlier arrogance was nothing but a joke. Unless he could defeat Qin Wentian again in the future, washing away this humiliation. As for his identity as Zidi's son, if he used it to suppress others after his defeat, he would become the laughingstock of all the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors. Status would bestow you many benefits, but if your strength was insufficient, and you still had to use your father's name to suppress others, that would truly be a humiliation. True geniuses would never stoop so low. Boom. Qin Wentian stepped out once more, causing the air to tremble. Xiaoling Yue's countenance turned cold as she asked, "What are you planning to do? The battle hasn't ended yet." Qin Wentian brandished his long spear as his countenance turned cold. His long spear erupted forth, transforming into a length of 100 meters, capable of annihilating everything as it pierced towards Zi Daoyang's head. The members of the Violet sect all retreated. Although they were followers of Zi Daoyang, this was Zi Daoyang's battle. Since he had lost, everything should be settled by himself. A talisman appeared in Zi Daoyang's hand, shining with boundless runic light. With a wave of his hand, the runic light enveloped his body as he icily spoke. Qin Wentian, I will definitely return the humiliation I suffered today tenfold in the future. As the sound of his voice faded, a beam of violet light shot up into the sky as Zi Daoyang's silhouette vanished from sight. As the son of Zidi, Zi Daoyang would definitely have many treasures on him. Qin Wentian was also very clear on this point. He wasn't surprised when he saw Zi Daoyang vanishing. It wasn't an easy matter to kill someone with such an identity. Chapter 981. In this battle, Zi Daoyang fled in defeat. The #1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings was about to change hands. After this battle, Qin Wentian's name would reach a new peak, like the sun in the sky. Zi Daoyang's departure caused the people of the Violet sect to feel as though they had lost all faith. The strongest genius they had followed in the city of ancient emperors had fallen from his divine pedestal. Everyone understood that from today onwards, the Violet sect would no longer exist. In fact, Zi Daoyang didn't even bring Xiaoling Yue away. Qin Wentian stood arrogantly in the air. He stared at Zi Daoyang's vanishing figure before turning his gaze onto Xiaoling Yue. With just a single glance, his incomparably sharp gaze caused Xiaoling Yue to feel a chill run down her spine. She instantly tensed up. If Qin Wentian wanted to kill her now, it would be extremely easy. Given the strength that Qin Wentian had used to defeat Zi Daoyang, she had no way to resist him. Qin Wentian's lips curled up in a cold smile as he stared at Xiaoling Yue with a mocking gaze. Seems like you, Xiaoling Yue, have no place in Zi Daoyang's heart at all. How sad. Xiaoling Yue's countenance turned pale, but she had no way to refute. Jun Mingchen and the others stepped forward, only to see Jun Mingchen pointing at Xiaoling Yue. This slut has always wanted nothing more than to take our lives. Before this, she joined the Twin Stars Alliance, and now, she's following Zi Daoyang. I'll go kill her. It was unknown whether it was because of fear or humiliation, but Xiaoling Yue's countenance was as pale as paper. Don't worry, I won't bully you. If you can defeat me, I can guarantee that you can leave here alive. After speaking, Jun Mingchen stepped out, his countenance cold. Although this woman was beautiful, her heart was as venomous as snakes and scorpions. Initially, he didn't have any grudges with her, but she had always wanted to kill them. Since this was the case, there was no need for him to be polite with her. Scram out! Jun Mingchen roared. Xiaoling Yue's body trembled as she walked out. Frost radiated from her, freezing everything. However, Jun Mingchen was clad in his emperor armor, exuding an unexcelled aura. The clear sky worldly diagram shone from him, and his entire body radiated boundless light, resembling a king among kings. He took a step forward, and heaven and earth rumbled. His power was monstrous. Xiaoling Yue unleashed her constellation, sealing the heavens and earth in ice. Jun Mingchen stepped out step by step, each of his steps causing the heavens and earth to tremble, containing a supreme might within. Finally, he punched out with a fist that shook the heavens and earth. A supreme might erupted forth from his fist. This power seemed invincible, as though it originated from the primordial era. It transformed into a chaotic torrent of energy that engulfed the heavens as it shot towards Xiaoling Yue. Xiaoling Yue's black hair fluttered in the wind. Her countenance was filled with a sense of poignancy. She was forced into a dead end, and could only unleash the grand freezing extermination art. However, in the face of Jun Mingchen's fist light that seemed capable of destroying everything, the freezing energy was directly destroyed. Jun Mingchen wasn't polite at all. He stepped out once more, stomping on the air as he punched out with both fists, unleashing the King Dao killing fist that contained the power to destroy the heavens and earth. The space trembled as Xiaoling Yue unleashed all her might. But under that tyrannical attack, all her defenses were broken apart. With a thunderous boom, her body was blasted away, slamming heavily onto the ground as she coughed out a mouthful of blood, her countenance as pale as paper. Boom! Jun Mingchen was like an emperor descending from the skies above her. He stared down at Xiaoling Yue as he spoke. Is this your pride? Is this the capital you are so proud of? Xiaoling Yue coughed out another mouthful of blood, resembling a withered flower. Or could it be that you have always treated your beauty as your capital? Jun Mingchen's eyes flashed with disdain. The armor on his body gradually dissipated as his aura dissipated. A look of pity could be seen on his face as he glanced at Xiaoling Yue, feeling pity for her. Pitiful woman, I disdain to kill you. Jun Mingchen waved his hand as he stepped back, facing Qin Wentian. Senior brother, what do you think? Since you disdain to kill her, forget it then. She's insignificant, I'm just feeling pity for her. Qin Wentian casually spoke, his tone was as calm as ever. Yet his words caused Xiaoling Yue to feel a boundless sadness as her body trembled. At this moment, Xiaoling Yue felt as though she had been abandoned by the entire world, becoming a pitiful person in the eyes of everyone. Once upon a time, she, Xiaoling Yue, was radiant with boundless radiance. Countless geniuses in the city of ancient emperors followed her, like the moon surrounded by the stars. Once upon a time, she, Xiaoling Yue, could make so many geniuses fight for her, putting their lives on the line for her. Once upon a time, she, Xiaoling Yue, exuded magnificence throughout the generations, ranked number 6 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. She was also a supreme beauty, with so many men prostrating themselves before her. All of this seemed to be nothing but a dream. But now everything was destroyed. Because of Qin Wentian's appearance, all her illusions were shattered. In this vast land, there was only boundless sadness. Inclining her head, Xiaoling Yue stared at the darkened sky. The tribulation might was still present, and a smile abruptly appeared in her eyes. However, this smile was filled with sorrow. She only had herself to blame for all of this. She believed that others should worship her like the moon surrounded by the stars. She believed that others should give the best to her. She believed that she had both beauty and strength, and that she should have countless followers. But all of this would eventually be destroyed. Standing up, Xiao Lingyue dragged her injured body as she walked towards the horizons alone, bringing with her a lonely back view. Liu stared at Xiao Lingyue's lonely back view, speechless in his heart. He could only sigh, hoping that after experiencing all of this, she would be able to change herself. Brother Qin, congratulations. After this battle, the #1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings will surely be yours. This is the glory of our Qin sect. Brother Qin defeated Zidaoyang. In the entire city of ancient emperors, no one else would be able to contend against Brother Qin. This battle could be said to be the pinnacle battle in the city of ancient emperors. The members of the Qin sect spoke one after another. The majority of them were filled with admiration and had no intention of flattering Qin Wentian. After such a glorious battle, Qin Wentian was indeed worthy of pride. Qin Wentian shook his head. The current Wuxia is definitely not weaker than Zidaoyang. Oh. Strange expressions appeared on the faces of the crowd. Qin Wentian actually didn't feel the slightest bit of arrogance. At this moment, he still felt that the threat Wuxia posed was greater compared to Zidaoyang. Wuxia is ranked #2 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. No matter how strong he is, he shouldn't be stronger than Zidaoyang, right? Wuxia also obtained a miraculous encounter in the Antiquity City. Originally, he wasn't any weaker than Zidaoyang, and their strength was roughly the same. Now he can only be stronger. Qin Wentian spoke. After Wuxia experienced the baptism of the sacred luminance, his potential was unlocked once more. Before this, he had already forged an indestructible physique. Now, the strength of Wuxia's body might not be inferior to his. Hence, although Qin Wentian had defeated Zidaoyang, he didn't feel that he had no opponents. He felt that Wuxia's current strength was even stronger than Zidaoyang's. In that case, Zidaoyang can only be ranked #3 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, someone spoke. Today, the people of the Dongshengshan Gate also invited Wuxia to the Evil Palace. However, Wuxia didn't appear. I wonder if he's paying attention to the battle here. That must be the case. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. Back then in the Underworld Mountains, Wuxia had waited until he and the Violet sect were both heavily injured before he appeared. Zidaoyang was incomparably arrogant, but he wasn't a scheming person. He was merely arrogant, believing himself to be unrivaled under the heavens. However, Wuxia was even more sinister and ruthless. His methods were extremely ruthless, and he was even more dangerous compared to Zidaoyang. Wuxia, if you want to battle, just inform me at any time. Qin Wentian stared at the air as he roared, issuing the challenge. He knew that Wuxia would definitely hear it, even if he wasn't here. Everyone stared at Qin Wentian. It seemed like Qin Wentian wouldn't rest until he turned the heavens and earth upside down. Brothers of the Qin sect, thank you for your help in this battle. Let's return. Qin Wentian spoke in a clear voice. After which, everyone departed. The spectating geniuses also stepped aside, sending Qin Wentian off with their gazes. This was a supreme character. Just this battle alone was enough to make the entire city of ancient emperors remember his name. Only after Qin Wentian's silhouette vanished did the spectators leave. This battle shook the entire city of ancient emperors. Everyone started to pay attention to the changes in the Immortal Ascension rankings. And indeed, the crowd didn't have to wait for too long. The new rankings were out, and there were shocking changes in the top 10 rankings. #1 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Qin Wentian. #2 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Wuxia. #3 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zidaoyang. #4 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Namhuang Yunxi. #5 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Qing Er. #6 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Jun Mengchen. #7 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Qin Wentian's demonic beast companion, Little Rascal. #8 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Hua Taishu. #9 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Xian Yang. #10 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Qin Wentian's demonic beast companion, the Purgatory Vermilion Bird. #11 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Qingxian. The moment the rankings were out, the entire city of ancient emperors was in an uproar. Other than Qin Wentian officially ascending to the top of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang's name was no longer in second place. It was Wuxia instead. Because Qin Wentian had defeated Zi Daoyang head-on, he was ranked above Wuxia, ascending to the top. And now, among the top 11, other than Wuxia, Zi Daoyang, and Xian Yang, the other names were actually all Qin Wentian's friends and demonic beast companions. One could very well imagine how shocking this news was. Before this, because Qin Wentian's radiance was too radiant, he had blocked the radiance of the others. But those who had personally witnessed the battle between the Qin sect and the Dongshengshan Gate all knew that the strength of Qin Wentian's companions was also shockingly powerful. This ranking wasn't an exaggeration. Within the Qin sect, the various experts all headed to the depths of the underworld mountains, searching for the antiquity city that Qin Wentian spoke of. When they saw the rankings, they simply couldn't control the pounding of their hearts. Chapter 982. Huge waves of commotion arose in the city of ancient emperors because of the immortal ascension rankings. Qin Wentian had led the Qin sect to annihilate the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate, and then defeated Zi Daoyang, ascending to the top. This was already shocking enough. Next, when the immortal ascension rankings appeared, other than 3 people, the rest were all disciples of the Qin sect. They were all friends of Qin Wentian, as well as demonic beasts. Such a ranking was too crazy, so crazy that it was hard to believe it was real. Without a doubt, the Qin sect had already become the #1 sect in the city of ancient emperors. No one could shake their position. Most probably, just the 8 of them alone were enough to sweep through countless powers. Many people had personally witnessed Qin Wentian's strength. Ordinary geniuses in the city of ancient emperors wouldn't even be able to withstand a single strike from him. Even an existence like Shaolin Yue wouldn't be able to withstand a single spear strike from Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian told the people of the city of ancient emperors what it meant to be a legend. A piece of news began to circulate throughout the city of ancient emperors. The reason why Qin Wentian and the others could rise so quickly was because they had entered an antiquity city in the underworld mountains, and obtained a miraculous encounter there. Not only that, Wuxia had also entered the antiquity city. Hence they were ranked #2, higher than Zi Daoyang. However, according to Qin Wentian and Namhuang Yunxi, the antiquity city had expelled them because their cultivation bases were too low. Not only that, the ancient city was also sealed. The disciples of the Qin sect all headed to the underworld mountains to search, and so did the countless geniuses in the city of ancient emperors. However, all of this had nothing to do with Qin Wentian, Zi Daoyang, and the others. The night in the city of ancient emperors was extremely cold and desolate to Zi Daoyang. In the Violet sect, numerous majestic buildings could be seen. This place was once known as the #1 sect in the city of ancient emperors, and everyone who stood outside would feel reverence in their hearts when they looked at the Violet sect. But now, the Violet sect was completely empty, as though it had long been deserted. Because of Zi Daoyang's defeat, as well as his abandonment of Shaolin Yue, the Violet sect's morale was shattered. The experts of the Violet sect all fled to the ends of the earth. In the silent night, Zi Daoyang sat cross-legged with his eyes closed in meditation. He circulated the energy in his body, gradually recovering from his injuries. Although that heaven-shaking spear strike from Qin Wentian had been blocked by an immortal-ranked weapon, the impact had still penetrated into his internal organs, heavily injuring him. He needed a period of time to recuperate. Violet light towered up into the sky, enveloping his body. Zi Daoyang was completely immersed in his cultivation. At this moment, in the Violet sect, under the moonlight, there seemed to be a black silhouette quietly floating in the air. This sound didn't make the slightest movement. His entire body was wrapped in a loose black robe. This black robe was extremely large. It completely covered his entire body. It was pitch black. Nothing could be seen. Furthermore, this silhouette didn't release any qi. This black robe seemed to have covered his blood qi. The black-robed silhouette floated silently in the air, hovering an inch above the ground. He then continued floating forward, resembling a specter of the night. Even if someone stood right in front of him, it would be extremely difficult for them to sense his existence. The direction this black silhouette was moving in was none other than Zi Daoyang's cultivation ground. Because he didn't release any aura, Zi Daoyang didn't sense it at all. He was still cultivating. The aura in his body rumbled unceasingly as violet light illuminated the sky. But even so, the senses of powerful stellar martial cultivators were extremely sharp. If they sensed an aura stealthily approaching them, they would easily sense it. This was especially so for an expert like Zi Daoyang. But this time around, Zi Daoyang didn't sense it at all. That black silhouette got closer and closer, fusing as one with the darkness of the night, as though he didn't exist at all. His silhouette had already floated to the outside of Zi Daoyang's cultivation ground, separated by only a wall. At this moment, a voice drifted out from the training ground. Zi Daoyang retracted his aura as his eyes abruptly opened. His incomparably sharp senses made him feel that something was amiss, as though there was a sense of danger approaching. A wisp of Zi Daoyang's aura gushed forth as a violet light swept out. In an instant, a formless fluctuation of his will, invisible to the naked eye, instantly engulfed the entire violet sect. Emptiness. There was nothing there. The fluctuation of his will directly penetrated through the black robe outside the entrance. If it was a corporeal body, it would have directly penetrated through the black robe. That black robe was the darkness of the night, and there was no one beneath it. There was only nothingness. Zi Daoyang sighed. He didn't expect that after his defeat today, he would become so paranoid. When his will swept out, there was nothing at all. Inclining his head, Zi Daoyang stared up at the sky before closing his eyes and continuing his cultivation. Outside, the black robe quietly floated there, unmoving, completely fusing with the darkness of the night. This pause lasted for a very long time. Such endurance was truly shocking. In the cultivation ground, Zi Daoyang's body was enveloped by the violet light as he wholeheartedly focused on his cultivation. That black robe finally fluttered again, passing through the obstruction of the wall and directly facing Zi Daoyang. Not only that, the distance between the black robe and Zi Daoyang was less than 100 meters. A dazzling beam of light abruptly erupted forth as a towering violet light gushed forth from Zi Daoyang's body. At the same instant, a saber abruptly appeared from within the black robe. This saber was like a bolt of lightning amidst the darkness, slashing out. It was too fast, so fast that it caused people to feel stifled. At such a close distance, there was no way to counter this saber. Time seemed to slow down at this moment. Zi Daoyang's eyes flickered with astonishment. It was actually real. That feeling was actually real. However, his will didn't sense the existence of any aura. Even now, the black robe before him was still completely empty. Yet a devil saber had appeared from within. Puchi. The cruel saber of darkness directly slashed down, slicing Zi Daoyang's neck. Fresh blood splattered as terror and despair flickered in Zi Daoyang's eyes. He, Zi Daoyang, was the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, an invincible existence in the city of ancient emperors. Yet he was actually being hunted here. That devil saber shone with a terrifying black light, blasting into Zi Daoyang's body, destroying everything within. His neck was about to be severed, but it seemed as though his opponent still wanted him to have a single breath of life left. The black robe flew backwards, hovering in the air as a black-clad silhouette walked out. This was a familiar silhouette. His eyes were so cold, so ruthless and emotionless. Pooh. Zi Daoyang wanted to speak, yet he coughed out blood unceasingly. His neck was also bleeding unceasingly, and at this moment his head was tilted to the side. How could he still speak? The black-clad silhouette stretched out a gigantic hand, directly pressing it onto Zi Daoyang's head. A terrifying runic light circulated, and in an instant, numerous black runes appeared in Zi Daoyang's body, flowing unceasingly into that gigantic palm. That pair of eyes calmly stared at Zi Daoyang, so calm that Zi Daoyang felt fear and despair. Even now, he still didn't dare to believe that he was going to die. He was going to die in the city of ancient emperors. He was Zi Daoyang, the son of Zidi, the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. But now, he was going to be killed in such a cruel manner. He, Zi Daoyang, was going to die. From the start till the end, the black-clad silhouette didn't say a single word. He didn't give Zi Daoyang any chance at all. Finally, when Zi Daoyang was lying on the ground, the black-clad silhouette collected everything from Zi Daoyang's body. The black robe floated back, enveloping Zi Daoyang's body. An instant later, the black-clad silhouette floated in the air, and abruptly, a terrifying attack energy gushed forth from the black robe, blasting towards Zi Daoyang's corpse. Accompanied by a thunderous boom, the black robe drifted away into the distance. In the Qin sect, Qin Wentian was also cultivating. He was in his own cultivation ground, and had used a formation to seal it off. In this sealed space, a treasured cauldron sat there, but Qin Wentian's silhouette was nowhere to be seen. Right now, Qin Wentian was inside the treasured cauldron. Within the cauldron, rays of the sacred luminance cascaded downwards unceasingly. Qin Wentian stood with his hands clasped behind his back, bathing in the sacred luminance. He had already experienced the tempering of the sacred luminance, and the effects of the sacred luminance weren't as great as before. Right now, the main reason why he was cultivating in the cauldron was because he wanted to comprehend the innate techniques and treasured arts within. Boundless runes were inscribed within the cauldron. Qin Wentian seriously observed them, trying to comprehend the power within. How many innate techniques and treasured arts are there exactly? Qin Wentian's eyes were like lightning, staring at the boundless runes. They were profound and complicated, incomparably tyrannical. Within these complicated runes, a terrifying baleful aura could be faintly felt. This treasured cauldron was akin to an ancient ominous cauldron, and the countless runes inscribed on it caused Qin Wentian to feel as though he was looking at a terrifying greater demon. Qin Wentian closed his eyes and calmed his mind. The runes of the treasured cauldron were imprinted into his sea of consciousness. He was in the world of the treasured cauldron, and all the runes revolved around him. Dragon. At this moment, Qin Wentian could faintly see a great demon true dragon proudly laughing at the 9 heavens. It roared above the 9 heavens, shattering the dome of the sky with a single strike. Divine turtle, it's the black tortoise. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed again, and it was as though he saw an incomparably huge divine turtle spiraling in the sky, unbreakable by all techniques. Rock. Qin Wentian seemed to have seen a great rock soaring above the 9 heavens. It was the sovereign of the sky, with a wingspan of 90,000 miles, and its speed was unparalleled. Who could compare to it? Chapter 983. Within the cauldron, Qin Wentian closed his eyes and comprehended. He discovered that the countless runes were all powerful innate techniques and treasured arts. Without a doubt, these were all immortal arts. Other than the true dragon, the sovereign of the sky, the great rock, and the black tortoise, Qin Wentian also saw other ancient demon runes that transformed into shocking scenes. The vermilion bird was covered in scarlet feathers, spitting out flames that could refine the heavens. With a single strike, its cry shook the heavens and earth. The divine elephant transformed into a supreme demonic beast, able to trample the heavens with a single stomp. The Qilin battled the heavens, a god of slaughter with a supreme grace, a supreme demon king. The roar of the true Ho caused the entire space to tremble, containing an apocalyptic might. Primal chaos surged, time and space became illusory. He opened his mouth and swallowed. The boundless territory, heaven and earth, the void, everything was swallowed into his mouth, possessing unmatched might. Demonic dragon, great rock, black tortoise, divine elephant, vermilion bird, Qilin, true Ho, primordial chaos. Within the cauldron, Qin Wentian saw the 8 greater demons of the supreme ancient immortal realms. All of them had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Boundless runes transformed into immortal arts that contained boundless might. Right now, Qin Wentian could only see these scenes. He had no way to comprehend even a fraction of them. Maybe when he reached the immortal emperor realm, he would be able to comprehend the boundless might and unleash demonic arts that shook the heavens and earth. The sky was the king. Qin Wentian entered a state of deep comprehension. Although his current cultivation base was limited, this supreme demonic art still stirred his heart. The treasured cauldron was an ancient treasure, and as long as he could comprehend a trace of its power, he would still be able to unleash terrifying might. It was the same as when he cultivated some supreme immortal arts at his current cultivation base. He would only be able to comprehend the slightest bit of them. Qin Wentian immersed himself in his cultivation, unaware of the flow of time. There was a formation in the outside world, so no one could disturb him. After all, the secret of the sacred luminance was contained within the treasured cauldron. He had to proceed with caution. In the city of ancient emperors, the commotion caused by the changes in the immortal ascension rankings was still fermenting. However, on the second morning, another piece of news that struck like a bolt from the blue shook the entire city of ancient emperors, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble as they felt a chill running down their spines. At this moment, countless experts were gathered in the Violet Sect. All of them were geniuses from all directions in the city of ancient emperors. Their gazes were fixed on the ground below, where a headless corpse could be seen. Traces of blood could be seen on the ground. This corpse was none other than Zi Daoyang's. The news was true. Zi Daoyang had died, killed in the city of ancient emperors. After he was defeated by Qin Wentian, he fell from the top of the immortal ascension rankings. And now he died here. This was Zi Daoyang, the former #1 ranker of the immortal ascension rankings, the son of Zidi. Yet he actually died in the city of ancient emperors and died in such a miserable manner. His head exploded, and even his bones weren't preserved properly. No one rejoiced. They only felt their bodies turning cold. Who was the one who killed Zi Daoyang? For a moment, the same question appeared in everyone's mind. Who would kill Zi Daoyang? Who had the ability to kill Zi Daoyang? Who dared to kill Zi Daoyang? Was it Qin Wentian? Someone asked. Qin Wentian defeated Zi Daoyang head-on, and Zidi's immortal sense was destroyed by the law energy of the city of ancient emperors. In addition, Zi Daoyang was heavily injured and had to rely on a treasure to escape. If Qin Wentian chased him all the way to the Violet Sect, could it be that he was the one who killed Zi Daoyang? Back then, Qin Wentian dared to kill Xianxing. He also dared to kill Zi Daoyang. His demonic beast companion just so happened to need Zi Daoyang's Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. There's a high possibility that he was the one who killed Zi Daoyang. Everyone speculated. Qin Wentian was the most suspicious. There's also a possibility that it was Wuxia. Wuxia has always been incomparably ruthless, and is an extremely dangerous character. He also obtained the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. That day when Qin Wentian fought against Zi Daoyang, Wuxia didn't show himself. It's very possible that he was the one who ambushed Zi Daoyang, someone else added. Right now on the Immortal Ascension rankings, only Qin Wentian and Wuxia were ranked above Zi Daoyang. Their strength was terrifying, and if there was someone who could kill Zi Daoyang, the two of them would undoubtedly be the greatest suspects. Also, only the two of them would have the guts to do so. After all, not everyone would dare to touch the son of Zidi. This news soon spread to the Qin sect, and the hearts of the members of the Qin sect trembled. They had never imagined that Zi Daoyang would be killed. After Qin Wentian defeated Zi Daoyang, he immediately went into closed-door seclusion. It was impossible for Qin Wentian to kill Zi Daoyang. There were people who suspected that Qin Wentian wouldn't admit to it even if he killed Zi Daoyang. After Qin Wentian ended his seclusion, he also learned of this news. Jun Mingchen and the others told him. Upon hearing that Zi Daoyang was killed, Qin Wentian's heart trembled. It should be done by Wuxia. Are you so sure? Nam Huang Yunqi stared at Qin Wentian. Have you forgotten about the battle in the underworld mountains? Wuxia was just waiting to reap the benefits of the fishermen. When the Qin sect fought against the Dong Shengshan Gate, I challenged Wuxia to a duel, but he didn't appear, nor did he express his stance. In addition to our strength, Wuxia knew that it would be difficult for him to do anything. But Zi Daoyang is different. After that battle, Zidi's immortal sense vanished, and the hearts of the people in the Violet sect have already scattered. According to what you guys said, Zi Daoyang is the only one left in the Violet sect. If Wuxia wants to seize the inheritance, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. That's right. Zi Daoyang was heavily injured by you. No matter which aspect he looks at, he's at an all-time low. If Wuxia wants to seize the inheritance in the future, He will never have such a good opportunity again. If Wuxia wants to seize the inheritance, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. Namhuang Yunxi acknowledged Qin Wentian's words. Wuxia was a ruthless character. He would definitely not give up the opportunity to seize Zi Daoyang's inheritance. If she was Wuxia, she would also choose to act at that time. In that case, this Wuxia is truly dangerous. Although Zi Daoyang was incomparably arrogant, he always fought us head-on every time. Jun Mingchen spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. Tell little rascal to be more careful. If Zi Daoyang was killed by Wuxia, he would have already seized 3 of the 9 inheritances. I'm afraid he wouldn't let little rascal's inheritance go either. The speculations of the outside world persisted, but no one was able to confirm who killed Zi Daoyang. After that, those from the depths of the underworld mountains also returned, bringing with them disappointment. They found the antiquity city, but just like what Qin Wentian had said, they had no way to enter. The antiquity city had already closed, and they no longer had any chances to enter. Time flowed by. The commotion caused by Zi Daoyang's death gradually subsided. Qin Wentian and the others were still busy with their cultivation. Namhuang Yunxi, Qing, Er, and Jun Mingchen were also busy consolidating their cultivation bases. Now that they had already stepped into the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, it was time for them to make preparations to break through to Immortal Foundation. For stellar martial cultivators at this level, their goal was to break through to the immortal realm. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months passed. During these days, Qin Wentian was either consolidating his cultivation base, raising his strength in all aspects, or cultivating the supreme demonic arts and innate techniques in the treasured cauldron. The city of ancient emperors was no longer the same as when Qin Wentian rose up. It was like the time when Zi Daoyang ruled over the city of ancient emperors. The Qin sect's position as the number 1 sect was unshakable. Qin Wentian was ranked first in the Immortal Ascension rankings, and Wuxia was ranked second in the Immortal Ascension rankings. In fact, 8 of the top 10 rankers were in the Qin sect. Their positions were as stable as Mount Tai, and it was impossible for them to fight against each other. Hence, even if someone's strength underwent a change, their ranking wouldn't change. The number 2 ranker, Wuxia, seemed to have vanished without a trace. It had been a very long time since anyone had seen him. With regards to Qin Wentian's challenge, he also seemed to have turned a deaf ear to it. Even now, whether Zi Daoyang died in the hands of Qin Wentian or Wuxia was still a matter of debate. The night was as still as water. In the air, a black-robed figure fluttered soundlessly. A beam of light shot out from the black robe, resembling the light of a constellation as it cascaded downwards, entering the Qin sect. Very swiftly, the beam of light vanished, and the black robe continued fluttering. Little Rascal was currently lying in a courtyard, and the commotion was very loud. His entire body circulated with a light of seizing power, as though he was also cultivating. Powerful runic light flowed around his body, but Little Rascal didn't seem to sense any danger approaching him. Because it was late at night, the majority of the Qin sect's disciples were still cultivating. Borrowing the darkness of the night, no one noticed the black robe drifting downwards. Not far away from Little Rascal, Purgatory seemed to have sensed something. His eyes opened as he stared at the sky. Abruptly, a towering light radiated from his body as he let out a long screech, instantly startling the entire Qin sect. However, at the same instant, a saber materialized from the black robe. It was a terrifying devil saber made of darkness, directly cleaving downwards from the sky like a bolt of black lightning. Purgatory's sharp claws directly stomped on the ground. Instantly, runic light illuminated the skies as the entire space lit up with resplendent light. It was as though there was a grand formation that transformed into a screen of light that enveloped this entire space. This was inscribed by Qin Wentian. After learning that Zi Daoyang had been killed, he had sensed the danger from Wuxia and had always been on guard. Little Rascal was already startled awake by the howl of Purgatory. His body instantly shrunk as he retreated. The terrifying devil saber slashed down on the light screen, but it only paused for an instant before it directly slashed apart the formation, slashing towards Little Rascal. A thunderous boom rang out as a fissure appeared on the ground. Because little rascal had shrunk and retreated, the saber light slashed right in front of him. Just a little more and the saber light would have slashed through his head. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Powerful auras gushed forth from the Qin sect. However, the black-robed man had already descended with his devil saber. He directly slashed out again, causing boundless darkness to envelop the space before him. A talisman appeared in little rascal's claws and he directly crushed it. Immortal light flashed as a fearsome golden barrier manifested before him, containing a fearsome defensive might. Qin Wentian and the others had plundered and killed countless experts in the city of ancient emperors, obtaining countless interspatial rings. Right now, they had many treasures, and all of them had protective treasures on them. However, although these protective treasures were powerful, it was evidently insufficient. They couldn't withstand the might of the devil's saber, and were directly cleaved apart. With a howl of rage, little rascal transformed into a golden-winged roc and retreated with lightning speed. Chapter 984. Everything happened in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint. If Purgatory or Little Rascal's movements were just a little slower, the devil's saber would have already slashed into Little Rascal's body. But even so, Little Rascal was still in danger. The black-robed figure slashed out with his devil saber once more, slicing the void into two. The golden-winged roc howled in rage as it soared up into the sky, moving so fast that it was like a phantom. At the same time, an immortal ranked sword appeared in its talons as it slashed out frenziedly. Boom! The immortal ranked sword was slashed apart, and the saber strike missed once more. At this moment, the experts of the Qin sect had already arrived. All of them took out their immortal ranked weapons as their auras gushed forth, transforming into a terrifying tempest. Qin Wentian's silhouette appeared. His aura towered up into the sky, and his eyes were cold to the extreme. The demon sword in his hand buzzed unceasingly, and abruptly, a long spear pierced through the air, aiming straight for the black-robed figure. That black-robed figure seemed to know that he was in a disadvantageous situation. He soared up into the air and slashed out with his saber once more. The terrifying tribulation light contained enough power to split apart the heavens and earth, and Qin Wentian's spear had no way to block it. The black-robed figure sped up into the air, as though he still wanted to pursue Little Rascal. However, Little Rascal's speed was too fast, and the black-robed figure knew that Little Rascal was extremely dangerous. Wuxia, there's no need to hide anymore. Qin Wentian stepped out, slashing out with the demon sword in his hand. The experts of the Qin sect rushed over, sealing this entire space. They wanted to see if this black-robed figure was truly Wuxia. How dangerous, he actually managed to sneak into the Qin sect. Not only that, he even had a terrifying stealth ability. That black robe on his body seemed to be able to conceal his aura, as though there was nothing but air around him. Zi Daoyang must have been killed by this person. The experts of the Qin sect mused as they stared at the black-robed figure. Was this person really Wuxia? Didn't you want to fight against me? I'm here today to grant you your wish. A voice rang out from the black-robed figure, after which the black-robed figure fluttered backwards, revealing a pair of hands. The eyes of the crowd instantly narrowed when they saw his face. Wuxia. As expected, it's Wuxia. He killed Zi Daoyang. Wuxia is too dangerous. Despicable. He actually dared to launch a sneak attack. Senior brother Qin, let's just kill him together. There's no need to fight such a person. Jun Mingchen and the rest all came out. Luckily, Qin Wentian had long prepared for this. If not, Little Rascal would be in for a miserable time. Qin Wentian, do you want to fight? Wuxia had actually kept his devil saber. As he stared at Qin Wentian's silhouette, his dark golden eyes were filled with an incomparably deep coldness. The members of the Qin sect all turned their gazes onto Qin Wentian, only to see Qin Wentian coldly laughing. If you want to fight, I will accompany you. Brothers of the Qin sect, seal this place and don't let him escape. If he wants to fight, I will accompany him. All right. How gutsy. The geniuses of the Qin sect all cheered. Before this, Qin Wentian had defeated Zi Daoyang, but now, Wuxia had killed Zi Daoyang. The first and second rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings had to have a battle at the pinnacle to see who could truly laugh arrogantly at the city of ancient emperors. A violent might gushed forth from Wuxia. His black robes were still wrapped around his body, making it impossible to see the runic light circulating around him. Qin Wentian stepped out as the god's hand appeared. He didn't dare to underestimate Wuxia. Back then, even Zi Daoyang felt trepidation when facing the second ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Now, Wuxia had obtained 3/9 of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance, and had even established an indestructible golden body. Not only that, he had also undergone the baptism of the sacred luminance. Wuxia's strength was definitely much stronger compared to Zi Daoyang's. A fearsome aura erupted forth from Qin Wentian. His body transformed into a series of afterimages as he dashed towards Wuxia. Stretching out his palms, a terrifying star-seizing palm imprint blasted out, blotting out the sky as it contained a supreme suppressive might. Wuxia inclined his head as his dark golden palms frenziedly attacked. A dark golden palm imprint containing tribulation runes of darkness blasted out. The two fearsome attacks collided in the air and exploded at the same time, shattering into pieces. "Let me see how strong your god's hand is." Wuxia's voice rang out as a towering devil might gushed forth from him. His eyes were terrifying to the extreme. "Let me show you then." Qin Wentian soared through the air, directly appearing before Wuxia. Neither of them released their astral souls to amplify their strength. This time around, Qin Wentian's god's hand directly blasted towards Wuxia, engaging in a close-range attack. Wuxia's palms also blasted out. His dark golden palms radiated a terrifying darkness devil tribulation might, revolving like an abyss. A terrifying vortex appeared in the center of his palms, drawing in all the energy in the surroundings. The entire space seemed to be on the verge of being destroyed by the might of his palms. What a terrifying palm! The hearts of the spectators trembled. The palms of the two of them collided, causing the heavens and earth to tremble as their blood and chi churned wildly. However, they stood there unmoving, as their other palms blasted out once again. In just an instant, thunderous rumbling sounds shook the heavens and earth. A destructive light enveloped their bodies as their battle shook the heavens and earth. Every collision caused the spectators to feel their blood and chi churning wildly. Such close-range attacks were simply too terrifying. Wuxia's palm seemed to contain a devouring energy when he attacks, able to devour sect leader Qin's attacks. Could it be that after he devoured Zi Daoyang's attacks, he actually obtained a trace of Zi Daoyang's Thousand Autumns Emperor art? Someone exclaimed. If that's the case, Wuxia's inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor has already begun to take form. The two of them fought unceasingly. What was shocking was that the more they fought, the more ferocious they became. Qin Wentian's bloodline started to erupt forth as he blasted out palm strikes filled with a terrifying suppressive might, capable of shattering everything. Wuxia's tribulation might towered up into the sky as the energy in his body frenziedly gushed forth. Sect leader Qin is gradually gaining the upper hand. His strength seems to be slightly stronger, causing Wuxia's body to tremble even more violently. Seems like sect leader Qin's perfect physique, God's hand. In addition to his bloodline power, his offensive prowess is slightly stronger compared to Wuxia's indestructible golden body, Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance, and his tribulation bloodline. Wuxia, if this is all you have already lost. Qin Wentian roared, like a supreme god of war. His demon bloodline surged ferociously as he prepared to unleash an even stronger attack. Oh! A mocking smile could be seen in Wuxia's eyes. This smile caused Qin Wentian to feel a sense of unease. Another heaven-shaking collision occurred, but this time around, a fearsome destructive might erupted forth from Wuxia's body. Qin Wentian's god's hand could shake the heavens, but at this moment, it was being destroyed unceasingly as a supreme tribulation might bore down on him. At this moment, tribulation light engulfed everything, enveloping the area where he and Qin Wentian were at. The boundless destructive might shattered the god's hand, causing Qin Wentian's countenance to drastically change. Wuxia's energy, this. The countenances of everyone from the Qin sect drastically changed. A fearsome tribulation might gushed into Qin Wentian's body, causing him to tremble violently. After which, Mosia's black palm landed on his head as the destructive runic light transformed into a terrifying vortex of darkness, wanting to devour all of Qin Wentian's energy. Seizing my inheritance? Mosia's lips curled up in a cold arc. Senior brother. Jun Mingchen rushed out. Little rascal and Purgatory howled in rage. Qing Er's countenance drastically changed as boundless energy gushed forth from her as she rushed towards Mosia. Nam Huang Yunxi was bathed in flames as she stepped out. She spoke in rage. Mosia, you've already established your immortal foundation. How despicable. Immortal foundation. Mosia has already established his immortal foundation. Everyone reacted as their countenances changed. Mosia had always been concealing his strength. Before this, he wanted to devour little rascal but failed. Hence, he wanted to devour the energy in Qin Wentian's body. He wanted to bait Qin Wentian into fighting him. Suddenly, tribulation clouds appeared in the air. It seemed that the law energy of the city of ancient emperors had descended. Mosia's countenance changed. He should have enough time. The black robe he was wearing was a supreme treasure that could conceal his aura. A few days ago, he had already established his immortal foundation in the city of ancient emperors, but he didn't allow the law energy of the city of ancient emperors to discover it. Scram! The might of his immortal foundation gushed forth as beams of destructive tribulation light danced wildly, engulfing the heavens and earth. A devil's saber appeared in his hand as he unleashed his immortal foundation's strength. With a single slash, the heavens and earth trembled, and no one could get close to him. Qin Wentian stared at Mosia, his eyes gleaming with a towering light. The Yuanfu in his body rumbled, as though it was a world within him. Boundless astral energy converged into the form of a true dragon. 1-2. More and more greater demons appeared within his body, howling madly as the power of his bloodline gushed forth, akin to a descendant of an ancient demonic god. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar rang out from Qin Wentian's mouth, akin to the roar of a demon god. Above him, the shadow of a supreme greater demon manifested. This shadow opened its palms and opened its mouth, causing rumbling sounds to fill the air. Numerous true dragons appeared, wanting to shatter the heavens as they rushed towards Mosia. Mosia's countenance changed. His left hand wielded the devil's saber, blocking the incoming attack. He had no choice but to retract his right hand, moving it away from Qin Wentian's head. His immortal foundation radiated with a supreme light as a supreme might transformed into a finger strike that shot towards the greater demon. The attack shook the heavens and earth. The greater demon was destroyed unceasingly, but the terrifying might of the finger strike also forced Mosia to retreat. Qin Wentian directly slashed out with the demon sword. Mosia released his grip on the devil's saber, and directly stretched his arm forward. The might of his immortal foundation erupted forth as destructive runic light gushed forth, shattering the immortal sword. In the air, law energy descended as beams of light cascaded down from the heavens, enveloping Mosia. This scene caused Mosia's countenance to change. He stared at Qin Wentian as an expression of reluctance appeared on his face. I should have killed you earlier. Consider yourself lucky today. Mosia spoke in a cold voice. The light cascaded down on him, enveloping him. Qin Wentian knew the rules of the city of ancient emperors. If one broke through to immortal foundation and unleashed the might of their immortal foundation, they would be expelled from the city of ancient emperors. Mosia had already relied on his black robes to cheat the rules of the city of ancient emperors. Only now did he reveal himself. Mosia's body slowly rose up into the air, being brought away by the law energy. Qin Wentian stared at his back as he coldly spoke. Mosia, let's meet again in the immortal realms. Mosia's eyes flashed with coldness. Meet again in the immortal realms? He also hoped that they would meet again. Finally, Mosia vanished. However, the hearts of the spectators weren't calm. Zi Daoyang and the current top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, as well as Qin Wentian, had almost died in Mosia's hands. This man was too dangerous. Seeing Emosia's silhouette vanishing, Qin Wentian's gaze remained fixed on him for a very long time. Qing, and the others also came to his side. Qin Wentian murmured, "It's time for us to leave the city of ancient emperors." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.